request representative from this organization to please come to the front seat. Representative from CODE, we have Food and Agricultural Organization, and IFRI, please, can you kindly move forward to the seat here on top? If you belong to this organization, CODE, Food and Agricultural Organization, and IFRI, please kindly step forward and join Dust at the front seat. Meanwhile, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Station General is already here. Please, can you usher the Station General to his seat, please? Thank you very much. Food and Agriculture Organization, I thought I saw them earlier. Okay, thank you, sir, you're welcome. Okay, I can see the two of you. Please, ushers, just take them through. All right, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, haven't taken much of your time. If I crave your indulgence, may we rise for the national anthem, please. Can we say amen? I will sit down. Thank you very much. The representative of the Honorable Minister of Education, the representative of the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, the Station General of the Federation and National Coordinator of the Nigerian Statistical System, the representative of the country rep of the World Bank, other representative of other UN family and other international organizations, directors, chief executive of other parastatals, the chairman, Nigerian Association of State Station General and other Station Generals here present, members of the academia, CSO and NGOs here present, rectors of institution and zonal controllers here present, CSON and other statisticians across the country, NBS family, distinguished members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Today, Nigeria is making history again, especially through the National Bureau of Statistics, through the data and report launch of the General Household Survey Panel, GHS-Panel. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a few years ago, the world over was caught into a wave of different kinds of calamities, including the COVID-19. Nigeria is no exception to all these that had happened across countries. The National Bureau of Statistics, therefore, has put in a study that they have been doing over the years so that today we come together to launch this report. Over the past 15 years, the National Bureau of Statistics has partnered with the World Bank Living Standard Measurement Unit in the Development Group. Under the strong partnership, NBS has implemented Nigeria's General Household Survey Panel, GHS Panel, Nigeria's only nationally representative longitudinal survey. It is a powerful tool for understanding the dynamics of the households by capturing changes in their socio-economic condition over time. 4 rounds of surveys have been implemented previously and have provided the Nigerian government and policy makers with insight that equip them to design policies and interventions to address the diverse needs of the Nigerian people. Today, ladies and gentlemen, through the invitation of the Secretary General of the Federation and National Coordinator of the Nigerian Statistical System, we will be looking at these figures today. My name is Nuhuan II, and I will be working with the sign interpreters here today. 2 of them, first is Emmanuel Adetuji Olusegun and Joy Ekwehede. I hope I call Ekwehede. Joy, thank you. Please put your hands together for them. Thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I will be working on an abridged agenda, so please you kindly follow me as it is. I understand we have already spent much time, so we shall go straight into our program. To deliver a welcome address, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the Director, Agriculture and Business Enterprise Department of the NBS, who also serve as the project coordinator of the work we are launching today. Please, let's welcome B. Fafumi to do the welcoming address. B. Fafumi.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, who is unavoidably absent this morning. The Honorable Minister of Education, that is represented here this morning by our Director from Department of Department of Statistics and Department of Ministry. So also the representative of the Minister of Agriculture, ably represented by the Director from the Department of Statistics, and the representatives of the country rep, World Bank, our partner from the IFRI, and also from the Food and Agricultural Organization, and our friend from Code for. You are welcome this morning, and our Sergeant General of the Federation, Prince Adeyemi Adeniro, the directors from ministry, departments, and agencies, members of the team from World Bank, good morning, and the participants from other ministry, states, and NBS staff from other states. Today is another day for us to launch another wave of General Household Panel Survey. This survey started in 2010 with Wave 1, and today we are to launch the 5th round of the wave. General Household Survey, as the MC has said, is the only longitudinal survey in Nigeria that study household over a period of time. And this survey has given us a lot of indicators to track the performances and what happened within our household in Nigeria in the area of their livelihood, agriculture, and so on and so forth. So this morning, you are welcome to this launch. The highlight of the presentation of the result from this survey will be given to us, and it will be a very useful result for development partners and also for researchers. And I hereby, on behalf of the Surgeon General of the Federation and the management of National Bureau of Statistics, welcome you to this launch this morning, and please have a wonderful deliberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director. Please, thank you very much. That's what I want to advise our cameramen, that every speaker should be captured along with the sign interpreter, because of those who are joining us live and those who are watching that have to see them in order to know what we are doing. Thank you very much. Like I said, I will be the driver here completely because I'm working on an abridged version of the program. Kindly bear with me and follow me so that we can work together. What we'll be taking next are goodwill messages, and let me start from the Food and Agricultural Organization, and I invite their representative, who is also an economist, Dr. Mansoon Owafo, for the goodwill message. Please, let's put our hands together for him.
Thank you, moderator. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The representative of the Minister of Education, representative of the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Honorable Statistician General, all protocols observed. On behalf of the FAO country representative, FAO is happy to be here today to witness the launching of this report. As with many others, FAO believes in the use of data to make policies, to reform policies. So we're really excited with the launching of this data set, and we look forward to its use, and we hope that more people will use it, more policies will be based on data like this, and we will use it and encourage others to use it as well. I wish us all fruitful discussions and questions that will guide us to use the data more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Next will be the country program manager of IFRI, as I invite Dr. Hassan Ede to also give his own goodwill. Please, let's encourage him with a round of applause.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Please permit me to stand on existing protocols. On behalf of the country program leader of IFPRI, Dr. Kwa Andam, who is traveling now, I bring you warm greetings. First, I want to congratulate NBS and the World Bank for this launch. It is an output for NBS, but for us at IFPRI, it is an input. We are a research-based organization, and the data, without data, we cannot do research. So this is important for us, and we're happy to be part of this great event. On behalf of HIPRI, I want to assure you that you will be seeing a lot of research outputs in terms of supporting the policy in the agriculture and food sector. Once again, thank you for inviting us to be part of this event, and I wish all of us a great discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Next will be the Chief Executive, Connected Development, as I invite Hamzat Lawal to please give his own goodwill message. Please, let's put our hands together for Hamzat, Chief Executive, Connected Development.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please permit me to stand on the existing protocol. Let me congratulate my friend, Prince Adeyemi Adeniro, for this wonderful job. We all know that we can't inform policy without data, and this is evidence-based. I'm particularly excited that it's happening now because there's a conversation around budget and planning, knowing that the fiscal year would soon come to an end. And I believe that this would inform how government would plan, but how we'll continue to work with our partners. I am not surprised that this is happening under your leadership because you've shown capacity, tenacity, and focus to continue to serve the Nigerian people using evidence-based data. So congratulations. And I'm committed to continue to support and partner with you. And our organization would amplify, translate this knowledge and information with all the radio stations we're partnering with across the Federation. Thank you.
This is indeed a morale booster. Please, once again, an applause for the Chief Executive. And when you have a pledge from a Chief Executive, you consider it done. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this point, let me move to the Honorable Minister, the representative of the Honorable Minister, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, as I invite Aliu Agwai to please make his speech. Let's put our hands together for him, please.
Good morning, all. The Statistician General, the leader of statistics in the country, representative of Ministry of Education, World Bank, FAO representative, IPR, and all others invitees. We are here just not because we are here. We are here because of Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. And I'm presenting the Honorable Minister of State, who is avoidably absent, and he traveled on official assignment with Mr. President to Brazil. He sent a word of peace to us. That last 3 months, we launched National Agricultural Census Survey. And the households survey that we got there is about 43 million Nigerians are farmers. So he said that he's very happy to be here and to work with MBS to have more data, because we need to know who are the farmers and who are the real farmers. in terms of input support, in terms of input distributions, so that to add value to the country. So we are here to give all our support and to encourage MBS with the good work they have done to come up with this survey. So we believe the survey will give us more than 43 million households in agriculture now with this, because this is the 5th round of this survey, and we thank the World Bank for that contribution to make this thing work. And we thank you for all your support. So on behalf of the Honorable Minister, we are happy to be here to see this result and to take it to the proper environment that the policy will take proper decisions. Thank you very much on behalf of the Minister.
Thank you very much. May we put our hands together once again for the representative of the Honorable Minister. When the Ministry of Agri is pledging to take proper decisions because there is proper information, we are bound to be grateful. At this point, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me break and welcome the representative of the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, who is here being represented by Dr. Zainab Bisagi, who's the Director of Planning and Social Development at the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. Please can we welcome her as the ushers usher her into her proper seat. We are really sorry that because we didn't get the proper information, you have to sit within the audience. Please, let's encourage her. Let's put our hands together for her. Thank you very much. Yes. As I move quickly, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to the Federal Ministry of Education, as I welcome the representative of the Honorable Minister of Education, who of course has always been our partner in NBS. Please, let's welcome Dr. Matthews. You know your second name, I don't want to misuse it, I will learn it and call it Dr. Matthews. And please, let's put our hands together for him.
Thank you very much, Assistant General. Honorable Ministers, fully represented, Agriculture, Budget and National Planning, World Bank, and others. Please, I don't want to go further than this than to quickly go into the message. Honorable Minister of Education, Dr. Moruf Olatunji Alausa would have been here. For other reasons, he couldn't make it. So he asked me to represent him. So I'll bring a message from him. In terms of education data, which we have been collaborating with MBS in every situation, and this one coming again as another landmark in the history of the system. Federal Ministry of Education is fully poised to, again, work with MBS in all ramifications. Because this survey also going to give us a leverage for issue of access from the household. We know who and who are there, what is their positions, what is their levels, what are they doing. It's also another way of leveraging. Apart from other sources of data we do in terms of school census, other MS activities. So on behalf of Honorable Minister, I wish you the best for this launch, and we continue to pledge our full support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Matthews Nga Njiozo. I hope I... Thank you very much. At this point, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we shall now stay attentively as I hand over to the media team for a video documentary. Once again to our cameramen, especially when our guest is speaking, please focus on the speaker and the sign interpreter. It's very important so that they can get those who are joining us who are physically challenged in terms of hearing can be able to capture what is going. Thank you. The media team for the video documentary.
In every corner of Nigeria, from vibrant cities to serene rural communities, resilience means more than mere survival. It represents the possibility of a fulfilling, stable, and dignified life. Welfare shapes the lives of families. It's seen in the education children receive, in the homes people build, and in the livelihoods that sustain communities. For any nation, knowing the state of its people's welfare isn't just desirable, it's essential. In a country as diverse as Nigeria, capturing the range of household experiences and socioeconomic realities can make the difference in crafting policies that truly serve the public. Gathering this knowledge requires consistent, robust, and reliable data. Since 2010, the General Household Survey Panel, or GHS-Panel, has offered a unique window into the lives of about 5,000 Nigerian households, capturing crucial insights on how they grow, adapt, and navigate socioeconomic changes. Conducted by the National Bureau of Statistics in partnership with the World Bank, this survey has become Nigeria's only nationally representative longitudinal survey. Once every 2 years, the GHS Panel survey is conducted with 2 visits to the households, giving a unique perspective on the resilience of Nigerian households over time. This survey has provided invaluable insights into a broad set of indicators, including demography, health, education, asset ownership, labor, agriculture, living standards, food security, and the impact of economic shocks. By tracking the same households over time, the survey provides a deeper understanding of the resilience, adaptation, and transformations that occur within Nigerian families.
The World Bank Living Standards Measurement Study Program, popularly known as the LSMS, was established in 1980 to support national statistical officers in low and middle income countries. The main goal of the LSMS was to support household survey systems for more impactful policymaking and to improve people's living standards. About 15 years ago, the LSMS launched an initiative to partner with several countries across Africa to implement nationally representative panel surveys. A panel survey is a study that follows the same families over time to understand how their needs and their well-being change over time.
Is a nationally representative survey covering all the 36 states and FCT. The survey is representative at national, zonal, and urban-rural disaggregation. The sample size is 5,000 households studied from wave 1 up to the wave 5. In GHS Panel, we have 2 visits for the survey, which are the post-planting visit and the post-harvest visits. The post-planting is conducted after the planting season, while the post-harvest is after the harvest season.
In this 5th wave, the survey introduces new areas of focus to address some of the most pressing issues facing Nigerian households. The Wave 5 data expands into critical topics such as migration, remittances, and early childhood development. It also collects data on climate resilience and caregiving, providing an even more comprehensive view of the needs and adaptations of Nigerian households. By examining these new areas along traditional indicators, Wave 5 offers policymakers a complete and nuanced view of Nigerian household dynamics. This data serves as a foundation for developing responsive, evidence-based policies that will drive social and economic progress.
The findings from the General Household Survey panel will provide valuable insight for government to come up with policies that can help our farmers, especially our subsistence farmers within the household in our rural communities. In addition, the data generated from the GHS-Panel survey can also be used for government to come up with improved framework for implementation of our social protection program in the country. Not only this, the data can also be used to examine and also identify factors that are driving people into poverty, especially the subsistence farmers in the rural communities in Nigeria.
In the last few years, societies around the world are facing multiple crises that compound one another, from pandemics to extreme weather events to intensifying conflicts, rising food and fuel prices. Unfortunately, the effects of these crises have also been felt in Nigeria. In this environment, GHS-Panel have proved to be a powerful source of data, allowing us to understand how health, dietary, broader economic needs of Nigerian households have changed, and what kind of strengths they've been able to draw upon to respond to these shocks. In doing so, the GHS-Panel continued to respond to the data needs at the country level. This has allowed for the monitoring of the progress towards national and international development goals, and also adapted the survey design to respond to country needs. Overall, within the World Bank alone, the GHS-Panel, by virtue of being a multi-topic longitudinal household survey, and by making its data open access, have informed 16 World Bank projects cutting across 9 sectors, including energy, governance, and social protection. In the future waves of the GHS-Panel will collect information that will allow us to enact a new wave of policies and projects in Nigeria that will work towards strengthening resilience of vulnerable populations to future crises. Please join us in supporting and promoting the use of GHS-Panel data for improved policymaking and better lives.
GHS-Panel is a landmark in Nigeria's commitment to evidence-based policy. Its findings offer a comprehensive snapshot of Nigeria's households and a roadmap for future interventions. For policymakers, researchers, and communities, the GHS-Panel is more than just numbers. It's a powerful guide to shaping a resilient, inclusive, and prosperous Nigeria.
I would like to encourage everybody, ministry, department, and agencies of government, academia, private sector, as well as non-governmental organizations or civil society organizations, to use this data to inform their programs, their projects, their intervention activities, and research purposes as well.
To learn more about the survey and access its results, please visit the MBS website at www.nigerianstats.gov.ng.
Thank you very much. Can we appreciate that once again? I am convinced beyond reasonable doubt that the documentary we've just seen has added to our understanding of the panel as it has been presented. Next, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we shall be taking special remarks from the producers, the originators, supporters of all this report we are doing today. And first will be the World Bank, and representing the country reps, representing the reps is Vina Vutukuru to come and give his own special remark. Please, let's put our hands for Vinay.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think I should be thankful to the announcer that he pulled off the tongue twister called Vutukuru. So as rightly mentioned by him, I'm representing my country director, NDMA Diop. but allow me to acknowledge all the key dignitaries here. Representative of the Honorable Minister for Budget and Economic Planning, representative of the Minister for Education, representative of the Honorable Minister for Agriculture, the Statistician General of the Federation and the CEO of NBS, my good friend, Mr. Prince Ediame Adina, representative of other development partners. I can see FAO, IFPRI, and of course, from the civil society connected development, and allow me to stand on existing protocols. Good morning, everyone. I must say I'm a very, very kind of passionate user of data, and I would have preferred to actually speak extempore, but my talking points have been prepared with a lot of hard work by my colleagues, so I better stick to the script. I think today is a very important milestone day, given that this is the launch of the 5th round of the General Household Survey Panel. Want to take this opportunity to congratulate the NBS led by the Statistician General of the Federation and the CEO, my good friend Mr. Prince Ediame Adinaran, for really leading this whole effort. And this is clearly a very, very important beacon of partnership between the bank and NBS. And I must tell you, SG, that your name has a special significance in the country I come from. As you know, I'm from India, and we have thousands of gods, actually. It's very interesting. The name Adinaran, that's your last name, is actually the god of gods, the god of knowledge. So I must say Nigeria is blessed to have an SG like you, who actually, you know, in our country is the god of knowledge. So really congratulations to you for pulling this off. I also want to congratulate the Honorable Minister for Budget and Economic Planning, His Excellency Senator Abubakar Bagudu. I know the Honorable Minister personally, and I know that he's about data, about using data. So congratulations to him for really guiding NBS to this great achievement. And on behalf of my country director, I really want to take this opportunity to thank the bank's Living Standards Measurement Study Program. We have Talib and Mimi and Akiko here. They work very, very hard, very closely with NBS, and that's a great partnership. So thank you to the team for really providing technical support over all these years and for a long and fruitful partnership with the NBS. And I think it's a joint effort. SG, you'll agree that it's a great, I think, example of the bank and government coming together, working hand in hand to produce quality data, which is very, very important in the current context. I think the data collected through these surveys is very, very important for informing the planning of effective policies, especially in a context like Nigeria, where we have households, which, as many speakers have referred to it, the COVID-19 pandemic, the global supply chain disruptions, and of course, the increasing food and fuel prices. So clearly, this kind of a representative, nationally representative panel data is very, very important as we kind of understand how the Nigerian households, men and women, respond to crisis, policy changes. And I think it provides us great insights on how they are adapting, how they're being resilient, and what are the windows of opportunity for policymakers to really identify areas of support for recovery and sustainable growth. I think because this panel data really looks at changes in composition of food consumption and nutrition, occupational mobility, and dynamics of vulnerability to shocks, really these factors are very, very critical for tailoring and customizing policies that address not just current conditions, but also future risks and long-term trends. So I think very, very important. And I think this survey, in a way, my sense is nudges multiple ministry to think really in a multi-sectoral manner, and that's the key if you really want to address issues in the development sector. For example, you have links between education investments and future labor market outcomes. Health shocks have impacts on consumption and income. Social protection measures, how efficiently, effectively they're able to mitigate adverse effects of economic shocks. So clearly you can see that all these issues are multi-sectoral in nature inherently. And so I think this kind of survey panel data across multiple years is very, very important to take into consideration as we design policies for development, growth, and inclusion. I think I just want to conclude by saying two things. One, really the most important thing, and I think the IFPRI representative said it all, that I think this is really just the beginning of a very, very important process. I think the fact that quality data has been generated should give assurance to all the stakeholders who are present here, ministries, development partners, civil society organizations, that we have access to very good quality data, which is longitudinal, it's a panel data. But I think the key is how do we use it for policy making? How do we use it to really customize, adapt, and have very, very targeted policies at multiple levels, at the household level, at the firm level, and multiple sectors, whether it's agriculture, education, social protection, health. So I think the proof of the pudding is how can ministries and stakeholders really use this very, very important piece of data. And the last thing I really want to say is that I think on behalf of the World Bank, and I speak for the LSMS team also, we really look forward to working with NBS. It's been a very, very fruitful partnership, but we really look forward to further partnership with NBS as we strengthen the Nigerian statistical system. So many, many congratulations once again, and thank you for inviting us.
Thank you very much. I was actually afraid to throw a joke in a World Bank program, but here is the one making us laugh. Please, let's put our hands together for him. Thank you very much. It is very important, as he has said, to recognize the World Bank team, and I think I'll crave your indulgence. Very, very important. Those who have worked day and night to ensure what it is. I think I can see some of them here. Please help me welcome Dr. Talib Kilik, Senior Program Manager. Dr. Khalid, I'm just introducing you. Please just stand up so that I will see you. Thank you very much. Of course, you saw them here, Dr. Bemishola Oseni, who is the Program Manager, Dr. Bemishola. Akiko Sagesaka, Senior Of course, that is the name, Sagesaka, okay? Of course, we also have Yvette Cantaras. I call them the way I can. Of course, our consultant, Nemi Okujaji. How are you, ma? Thank you very much. That was indeed very wonderful. At this point, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I also, usually when I talk in program, people think I'm exaggerating. I will not be saying my own, I will just be saying what others say. So let me invite the God of all knowledge and the National Coordinator of the Nigerian Statistical System, Prince Adeyemi Adeniran, for his own special remarks.
That name is a bit scary.
because when you said that, I'm afraid anywhere I go, people were asking me all kind of questions. That you said, God of all knowledge. So they start asking me about astronauts, geophysics. And if I say I don't know, they say, but they say you are all. Thank you very much. The representative of the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, my boss, His Excellency Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, CON, who is unavoidably absent here, and he tendered his unreserved apology for not being here today. It's unusual of him, except he has other compelling assignments. He always attend events like this. Presently, as we speak, he's attending the National Economic Management meeting and is the secretariat for that meeting. He's coordinating the secretariat for the meeting. That's why he's not present here. So he tendered his apology. The representative of the Honorable Minister of Federal Ministry of Education, who is ably represented here by our colleagues, our friends. The representative of Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, also ably represented here by the Director, Agwai. Representative of other development partners here present, IFRI, FAO, and others. The representative of Country Director of World Bank, who has given me a name. Directors and other hardworking staff members of the National Bureau of Statistics. The CEO of Connected Development, my good friend, Dr. Amsa Lawa, also good friend to the National Bureau of Statistics. Thank you for the support we are getting from you. The amazing team from the World Bank LSMS, who has just been introduced to us, they have been supportive of MBS more than 10 years now, working closely together with us. And one of the output of that collaboration is what we are witnessing today. Thank you, all of you, including those that are not able to come, Gero and others. Extend our greetings to them, please. The Station Generals of State Bureau of Statistics here present, very allied of MBS. We are twins, brothers and sisters, working together to produce data, quality data for that matter, for policy making, for program development, both at the national and all the state of the Federation. You are all welcome, state SGs. All other invited guests that are here present, including all the participants that are joining us online, because we have many people online watching this program and listening to the procedure as we move on. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, I'm extremely honored and pleased to join the project director, Mr. B, who gave us the welcome address, to also welcome you all to this official launch of the 2023-2024 General Household Survey Panel, which we shorten and commonly call it GHS-Panel. And this one that we are launching today is the wave 5 of it. Today's launch is a combination of another effort by the National Bureau of Statistics and one of our very closest partners, the World Bank, to enhance the understanding of household living conditions and provide government and other policymakers with reliable information for effective policy decision-making in their country. This General Household Survey Panel, usually called the GHS Panel, is a very special and peculiar survey. at MBS for a number of reasons. If I give the reasons, you can see the title from the program. We said data and report launch. Usually what we have is report launch. But because of the huge amount of data that we have generated from this survey, that's why we give that title of data. We are launching the data and we are launching the report. So that is one unique feature of the GHS panel that we are launching. First reason why I said it's very unique in nature is that it is a multi-topic data collection exercise that serves as an essential tool for capturing the dynamics of Nigerian households, providing invaluable insights into their economic activities, into their well-being, and also giving insight into the way and manner in which they are resilient to different shocks. It specifically collects information on household income, household assets, and household consumption. It also has data on income generating activities, health, education, shocks, and many more information that we can get. In a nutshell, the GHS panel is a gold mine and a treasure trove for researchers and policymakers in Nigeria because of the wealth of information that it contains. I'm happy for researchers because when you are looking for big data, it's not only from MTN, it's not only from Glo, you can get big data from GHS panel. Secondly, it is a longitudinal survey, meaning that it tracks and interviews the same respondent over time. We started this program 2010, and twice a year, we have been interviewing the same household for these 10 years continuously. So you can imagine the kind of volume of data that we already collected from the households. In this case, with the launch of the Wave 5 that we are launching now, approximately the same 5,000 households have been followed and interviewed across the 5 waves. This includes Wave 1, which was conducted in 2010-2011. The Wave 2, which was conducted in 2012 and 2013. And then the third wave that was conducted in 2015 and 2016. Wave 4 was for 2018 and 2019, while this fifth round or fifth wave was conducted between last year, 2023, and 2024. This is a significant accomplishment for MBS and indeed the Nigerian statistical system. It is certainly the first of any African National Statistical Office to conduct these 5 rounds. As we have heard, we have other countries that are also conducting this panel survey. Malawi, Tunisia, Uganda, but it's only Nigeria that have completed 5 waves, no other country. This panel approach allows for some interesting analysis to be done, which can better tell the story of life in Nigeria and the living conditions of Nigerians. Some of us that attended the African Statistics Day, you had the Honorable Minister enjoying us and encouraging us to use statistics to tell our stories, especially stories that showed how Nigerian citizens are resilient to recent shocks or events. For example, using data from Wave 4 and Wave 5, an asset index was created which categorized households into 3 broad categories based on their wealth transition across the time. And from that analysis, the results show that 41.7% of the household remained the same between Wave 4 and Wave 5. Their wealth quintile has not changed. while 29.4% experienced an upward lift in their wealth position. And another 28.9% went down a little bit between wave 4 and wave 5. Key factors influencing these changes included environmental and economic factors, with households experiencing downward mobility more likely to report being affected by flood. We all know the impact of flood on household now. So flood is one of the key factors that move our household down from what they were in wave 4 to what they were categorized in wave 5. It is not only flood, but post-harvest losses. These are issues that we have been discussing in the country when it comes to food chain. Post-harvest losses is another factor that affected households that moved them from where they were before to go down a bit in wave 5. Other interesting stories that can be told from the survey is about energy access in Nigeria. We also know very interesting debate, engagement about issue of energy in our country nowadays, especially since the removal of fuel subsidy. The results showed a significant divide between urban and rural access to electricity in Nigeria, where we have 82.2% of urban households having access to electricity, when we compare to just 40.4% of households in rural areas having the same access. With households, on the average nationally, facing a power outbreak of about 7 times in a week. And the third reason, and very importantly, why this survey is unique, is the impact of the survey in terms of its contribution to knowledge. Somebody said, God of all knowledge. And the application of its findings to the design of policies and programs. The influence of the result cannot be understated when it comes to this. Available records indicate that over the last 5 years, the survey findings have been used to design several projects and to come up with intervention programs, which worth approximately $8.9 billion across many sectors, which include agri sector, food and nutrition, education sector, water and sanitation, WASH, social protection and jobs, as well as governance, among others. Looking at what has been come up in terms of intervention, in terms of programs that have been able to develop because of the data that we have here, we have been approximately estimating about $8.9 billion as a result, as gain from using the data. During the technical session today, I'm just giving a tip of the iceberg. During the technical session today, we hear from other users, both from academia and civil society organizations, how valuable the GHS-Panel findings have been used by them and how they have been able to use the data for many research. It is not only in Nigeria that researchers are using this data. We will also be hearing how the data is being downloaded, being used across the globe. In actual fact, the Nigerian GHS-Panel has the highest number of downloads for the use of the data when compared to other countries, about 10 countries that are doing the same thing. This is another accolade to MBS and Nigeria indeed. As coordinator of the statistical system and authoritative source of official statistics in Nigeria, the GHS-Panel provides a platform for us to achieve several of our mandates in one time. Not only does it allow us to meet the mandate of providing data for our users, it also provides a good place for us to enhance our ability to innovate and to test and explore modern methods and approaches to survey implementation. The conduct of this survey, given the rigorous and meticulous process that it requires, because running a panel or longitudinal survey requires special skill. It's different from other survey that is one shot or one-time survey. So it requires a meticulous process. It has significantly enhanced the capacity of MBS personnel in the aspect of survey planning, respondent sampling, data collection, and analysis of data. I make bold to say that MBS, through the conduct of this survey over the years, has become one of the best national statistics office known for the implementation of quality household-based survey in Africa. The methodology adopted for the GHS panel has continued to evolve to keep pace with the complex and changing demands of our society. For this round, we introduce an enhanced modules that capture key aspects such as migration pattern, remittances, and the impact of climate-related shocks. You will agree with me that these are topics that are very relevant, very useful for what is happening in our country now. When we talk about Chapa syndrome, and when we talk of what are we gaining from Chapa syndrome, we look at remittances. How much are we getting from our colleagues, our relatives that travel abroad? So looking at migration pattern, looking at remittances, and climate-related shocks. Everybody is talking about climate change as well. So these are germane topics that are useful, that can help government to come up with good policies. 2 additional modules on children were also incorporated into this last wave, with one of the modules capturing early childhood development and identifying the main caregiver of the children within the households. Furthermore, a detailed module on shocks collected additional information about climate shocks in the country. However, households reported economic shock as the most prevalent kind of shock that they experience, as is reported to be 71% of households reporting price increase on major food items. When we talk about shocks that households are experiencing, about 71% of the households covered said that the increase in food prices is one of the shocks that they are experiencing. And with what we all know about inflation rate in the country now, you agree with me, also looking at the cost of healthy diet, that this survey is actually telling the story of what is happening in our country. By tracking the same household across the 5 waves, the survey provides a nuanced understanding of how Nigerian households navigate challenges and seize the opportunity presented by different types of shocks that they encounter. At MBS, we remained ever committed to advancing our data collection and analysis mechanism. This is why, going forward, we plan to integrate even more digital tools to streamline data collection and analysis and broaden our reach to ensure that topics that are critical to our users are taken on board in our service. Also, we ensure that as much as possible, by combining the data from the GHS panel with other sources, we'll be able to provide more disaggregated information to suit the need of our users across the board. The GHS panel, the beauty of it is that when it is combined with other sources of data, geospatial data, socioeconomic data, we'll be able to have very insightful results that can be useful for policy and for program formulation. I therefore encourage all policymakers, all our researchers, as well as all stakeholders that are present here today, to engage with the data and use this insight to drive evidence-based decision and policy making across what we do. Whether for poverty reduction initiatives, for social welfare programs, or economic development strategies, the findings of this report offer a powerful foundation
for addressing the specific needs of all Nigerians. Let me, at this juncture, acknowledge the fact that today's achievement is the result of consistent collaboration with both national and international organizations. We are therefore deeply grateful to our colleagues from the World Bank and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in particular for their steadfast support over these past 14 years. As alluded to earlier, these partnerships have enhanced our technical expertise and allow us to participate and engage with colleagues at various international platforms, thus enabling us to meet international standards of data quality, of data transparency, as well as integrity. So we thank the World Bank and Gates Foundation for making us to achieve this. Anytime you go out for international conference, our staff at MBS always stand tall to talk about quality data and to talk about processes for data production that can lead to high quality data. It is because we have been involved in this survey over the years. As I round up this welcome address, as well as special remarks, let me sincerely thank the Honorable Minister who is ably represented here. They are all fully represented as we invited them, as well as all other dignitaries that are present in our midst today. First, for honoring our invitation to be here with us and the time that they have spent with us. We know that time is of essence, but they have been patiently waiting for us to start, and they are here with us. And I hope many more of us will still be around to see the presentation that will come very soon. It is our hope and belief that you will all find the report very incredibly useful to the work that you are doing. And we eagerly anticipate the policy decisions and programs that will emanate from the findings that contained in the survey. You are all highly welcome, and we appreciate your time with us. On a final note, I want to express my profound gratitude to the dedicated team at MBS that worked tirelessly from the planning stage, those that started this survey from 2010, and those that work on this particular wave 5 that we are launching today, right from early 2023 up to this moment, even to this very moment that we find ourselves. I'm proud of all the members of the team. Your efforts and contribution have made it possible for us to achieve this milestone in providing quality data that will shape the future of our dear country. I thank you all for joining us today and your continued support on this data-driven journey. You are all an important part of the success that we are celebrating today. Once again, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your time and thank you for honoring our invitation. God bless all of you. Thank you.
Having done justice to his own new name as the gods of all knowledge, which he has proven, I think we should put another round of applause for him. Thank you, sir. This was not only a welcome remark, nor a special remark, but a comprehensive information. Please, let's put our hands together for this. Thank you, sir. Of course, 10 years ago, for a child that was born at that time, should have been finishing primary school. But that was not what came to my mind. I just remember the price of rice and petrol 10 years ago. I said, wow, I don't know what this report will be looking like. At this point, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for the key highlights of this report, may I invite our principal program analyst, Samsudin Lawal, to please come and take the next 8-10 minutes to please put this together. Let's put our hands together for Samsudin Lawal.
Where's the technical team? Good afternoon, everyone. Yes. Okay, let me start with the introduction because they are trying to start up the system. Good afternoon, everyone. The representative of Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, as well as representative of Minister of Education. The Statistician General, permit me to stand on the existing protocol. So I will be taking us through the highlights from the GHS panel wave 5, as well as some of the trends analysis carried out from these waves. So as mentioned during the opening, sorry. Yes. Okay. Okay. So as a form of background, the GHS panel survey. Next. Okay, as a form of background, the GHS panel survey is the only longitudinal survey in the country with many data points that can be used by policymakers as well as researchers and other users to study the resilience of household over time. As we heard from previous speakers, we started this survey 2010, and today we are launching the 5th wave of the survey. And in each of the wave, we visited the households 2 times. That is during the post-planting, as well as the post-harvest. So this slide is telling us numbers of interviews conducted during these visits. So during these 5 waves, with 10 visits, we conducted over 52,000 interviews across these households, as well as community questionnaire, because during the survey we collected data from households as well as community questionnaire. And from our server, this 23,000 we are seeing, from our website, we realized more than 23,000 downloads from the 4 waves, 4 rounds of the surveys. So after the launch today, we'll upload the 5th wave of the survey, the data set as well as the reports. So we are encouraging all users. No, previous slide, please. So we are encouraging all users, after this launch, we will upload it on our website. They should go and download the microdata as well as the reports so that we can start using the findings as well as the data sets. So my own work here is to present the highlights, but during the technical session, we have other presentation that has to do with survey methodology as well as other more findings from the survey at household level, at agricultural level, and other findings from the survey. So this slide is talking about findings from education, and we collected this data from individuals 5 years and older in relation to their literacy level in terms of literacy in any language. And from the findings, we can see on the slide, 60.9%, almost 61% of these individuals aged 5 years and older possess literacy in any language. And the highest zone, when we check the disaggregation by zone, we can see the South-South leading other zones with 84.1% of these individuals with literacy level, while closely followed by Southwest with 83.1%. In contrast, Northwest is still struggling, but is still the least with 44.6%. On the other hand, SG mentioned as part of improvement in this survey, we collected information around early childhood development. And this information, we collected this information from children or from their caregivers on behalf of the children aged 4 to 6 years old, whether these children can reach, no problem. So whether these children aged 4 to 6 years can name at least 10 letters. So from the findings of that question, we realized that in Southwest, these children 4 to 6 years old can name at least 10 letters with 86.7% of those children, closely followed by Southeast, so also the same pattern, and the list is also Northwest with 27.9% of these children that can name 10 letters word. We also collected information about these children on their numeracy skills, whether they can count numbers from 1 to 10, and we realize it's also the same pattern, the southern zones leading the northern zones, and also Northwest is the least with 45.3%. Migration model is another improvement in this wave. We collected information from individuals 15 years or older, whether they are planning to leave their community temporarily or permanently, and whether if they leave their community, are they going to another community within Nigeria, or they are going to outside the country. And from the findings, when we collected the information from these individuals 15 years or older, we realized 25.6% of them indicated they really want to leave Nigeria. So with any small opportunity, they will move. And we also asked them information about where they are going as they are aspiring to leave the country. 35.4% of them indicated they want to move to the United States, while 22.8% to Canada, 21.9% to United Kingdom, and also some people signify that they want to move to Niger as well as Cameroon. I was going through the report this morning. I saw one important findings. When we asked people, this age cohort, 15 years or older, that they want to leave their community to another community within Nigeria, 35.3% of them indicated they want to come to Abuja here and meet us. So policy people around migration data, this data will be useful for them so that they can plan well, so that these people, if they come to Abuja, they can join us without disrupting the infrastructure in Abuja. Next slide. So another information we collected at household level is food consumption by these households. We collected information around 12 food groups, and you can see the food groups on the slides: spices, vegetable, downward. We tried to do some trend analysis here to compare consumption during the post-harvest of fourth wave and the post-harvest of this fifth wave. We realized households reported that they reduced their consumption of these food groups. And this decline is across all the 12 food groups, as we can see, negative. And with sugar products, and honey, decline with 16.5%, followed by milk and milk products, 15.6%. And also, household reported they have to reduce their consumption of poultry, meat, fish, and animal products with 12.6%. And the list there is spices and condiments. And I think this has to do with the purchasing power of these items. As we know, the prices are not the same. So when we go into the reports, we'll see this trend analysis across zones, but this at aggregate level, that's national national trend. Next slide. So also from this household, we asked them whether they operate non-farm enterprise, apart from the agricultural activities carried out by some of the households. Nationally, 59.2% reported that they operate non-farm enterprise within the households. But at this point now, on this indicator, Northwest is leading the zone, the other zones with 77.2%, while the list is North Central households. Only 44.4% of this household reported operating non-farm enterprise. And we also collected questions around constraints, around what is hindering the growth of this non-farm enterprise. And most of the households reported the constraint that hinder the growth of this non-farm enterprise is access to electricity as well as transports. Next slide. So as I mentioned from the, as part of the background, we collected information around agricultural activities carried out by households. So this is one important trend analysis, and we can see in the last 14 years, crop farming by households keep on increasing nationally. Wave one, the households that participate in crop farming was 48.9%, keep on increasing to 50.7%, 52.6%, 70.3%. And from this current result that I want to release, household reported crop farming was estimated to be 71.6%. And this increase is also observed across urban rural, increase all over. And I think this indicator is very important for households to engage in crop farming, because once there is any shock in the country, so they can use these agricultural activities so that they cushion the effects that might affect their food security if they are into agricultural activities. Next slide. So also from these agricultural households, we collected information around plots they cultivated. How did they cultivate these plots? Is it with the help of mechanized farming, or they have to engage people living within their households, or they have to hire people outside their household by paying them money? And we realized these cultivated plots, this household said 96.8% of this plot, they have to engage people living in their households to cultivate these plots. Not just members within their household, some of the plots were engaged by people outside the household with 75.9%. And we can also see plots engaging equipment and machine. They are just 8.7% of these cultivated plots. So this GHS panel will serve as a unique tool for data users across board so that they can understand the resilience of household over time, because we have many data points. So when we compare, we will study how Nigerian households are withstanding shocks over time, and findings from this survey will significantly impact national policy planning and developmental activities. And we hope after launching this result today, users across board will utilize maximally the use of this data. So thank you very much. And as I said, please, after the health break, we should try to come back so that we can see the methodological presentation and more findings, because it's just a snapshot from the survey. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. An applause once again for Samsudin. With this, we can raise our head up and say proudly that majority of us are farmers. It's no longer speculation. Thank you very much. At this point, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for the keynote address and the declaration of the opening of this very function, may I have the honor and singular honor to invite the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, His Excellency, Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, CON, has been represented here by Dr. Zena Vasagi. Please, let's welcome the Honorable Minister. This is not part of the report.
Representatives of the respective MDA, ministers of respective MDS present here, the Statistician General of the Federation, our very able development partners present. On behalf of the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, whom I'm representing today, I wish to say a very warm welcome to you all to this event. The Honorable Minister would have loved to be present, but for the National Economic Council meeting, which you are all aware that is anchoring, which has all the governors from the 36 states of the Federation and their commissioners of budget and economic planning, he could not be able to be here. So he sends his apologies. Going to the survey being launched today, indeed, we all know the relevance of data. We know what data, the role data plays in planning. It is one of the most important elements that encompasses everything about planning and budgeting in Nigeria. The survey, the outcome of today's survey will no doubt help in informing decision-making in the country. It will also help us to plan strategically. It will help us also to be able to dedicate our resources to the right channels. Being at the top of it, the National Bureau of Statistics, whose key role centers around 3 key areas: coordination of data, communication of data, and alignment of data. So this event is indeed a very important one, not only to MBS, but to the budget and economic planning, who is the father and mother of MBS. As you are all aware, they are our parastatal. So it is indeed a very important thing. So I urge us to not to take the report lightly, or not just to look at it as any document, but that it will serve as the center stage of our planning. I have come across a lot of issues surrounding accuracy of data, quality of data, and availability of data. But with what I have heard today in this podium, MBS is strengthened. MBS produces one of the most qualitative data globally, so it is reliable. I cannot end this note without thanking the World Bank and so many of the development partners whom I know play critical role in ensuring data accuracy and data availability. On a final note, this survey, like I said, will no doubt change the way we think at the planning. It will give us a more focused approach in doing planning and planning better for the Nigerian economy. So on this very short note, and also happy note for the progress done so far, I wish to, on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, CON, declare this launch officially open. Thank you and God bless you.
Please, can we appreciate once more the... At this point, may I respectfully invite once again the representative of the Honorable Minister and all other representatives of Honorable Ministers, the Statistician General, the representative of the World Bank, and our contributors of goodwill message to unveil, to launch the report. It is at my extreme left. So please, can we, all those that have contributed, all those in the front seat, we go and launch the report, please. Thank you very much. It's all over. Yeah, after the collected text. If you wish to make a statement, after you have finished the collection, you have to come up for Buna.
Sorry. Once again, on behalf of the Honorable Minister, Budget and Economic Planning, and of course, the Federal Republic of Nigeria as a whole, we want to officially unveil, or I am unveiling officially the launch of the survey for the benefit of economic growth and development of Nigeria. Thank you.
You can all come up. Please, if you collect your copy, we will kindly request that you come to the center here at the stage so that we can have. Yes, please climb the stage. Okay. Some are more men than others. Thank you. All right, Minister at the center. Thank you, man. Thank you very much. All right, please, can you present your report in such a way that you can be seen? Food and Agriculture Organization, please come here. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, can you put our hands together for them, please? That's wonderful. Mazi, I'm waiting for you. If you are done, like photos are still going on. How do you interpret snapping of pictures? All right, thank you very much. Please, let's appreciate them. Okay, Minister, you can't go. Okay. You have to. Please, can I invite, please, the World Bank team? Name me. After that, we have our directorate members. After that, then state station generals, and then we're done. Please carry your copy. Please, can our directorate members begin to move closer so that after this one, directorate members of NBS, directorate members, NBS, please just come close by so that immediately after this, Mazi, you have to be fast. All right. Please, World Bank, the minister and the SG, please remain. World Bank representative. No, I mean the representative. The reverse. Okay. well done, well done. That was right. That was great.
Careful, please.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Support. Okay, you are doing the support.
After this test, I shall do Please, after this, state surgeon generals and directors of statistics, please come up. Yes, state surgeon generals and directors of statistics, please. State surgeon generals and directors of statistics here present. After this one, we take zonal controllers and rectors of federal schools. After this one, zonal controllers and rectors of federal schools. And after them, we have the core team of the panel of the MBS. Zonal controllers and rectors, please, quickly. Zonal controller and rectors, please share yourself. Don't gather yourself in one side. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Please, the panel team, NBS, please, and the World Bank together. The panel team for NBS and World Bank together, please. This picture is for you. NBS and World Bank, the engine room, the panel team, please. Are we not done? Okay, thank you. World Bank and panel team, NBS. The mothers and fathers of panel. Some of you can come up if there is not enough space. Please, some can come up, please. I don't know if we can take all this. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, the Honorable Minister, Sanjana, and the World Bank. I didn't know I have co-workers today. Sorry, next time we are going to snap our own picture. At this point, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for the vote of thanks, let me say this as an announcement. Please, we don't wish that anybody leaves before the end or before the technical session. But in case that you are present and you must leave, at the reception, if you drove your own car and you have the ticket to which you enter, at the reception, make sure you carry a copy of the program along with you. That is an evidence that you attended the program. They will scan your receipt at the gate, and then you don't have to pay. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then you have to pay. But if you are for this program, you don't need to pay. Please, even when we close, this is what you need to do. Carry a copy of the program. At the reception, they will scan it. This program is the ID card that you were invited. At this point, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I respectfully invite the Director of Corporate Planning and, the Director Communication and Public Relations Department of the NBS, Mr. George Sunday Chedi, for the vote of thanks, please.
I must say that this is an impromptu call for me to give a note of vote of thanks. So when he called me, I was asking the director, Agric and Business Statistics Department. I told him, what am I going to say? Because it's an impromptu invitation. So he said, I should just go and say thank you and come back. So I'm not going to waste your time. So I'll just say thank you and go back. But that is on the lighter note. I wish to thank God first for allowing this event to take place. Without him, this event wouldn't have taken place. So we thank God for that. Then we thank our Honorable Minister for coming, and it's been represented here by an able director from Minister of Budget and National Planning. So we thank him for his support for this event. Next, we also thank our Statistician General. Today, another name has been added, God of Knowledge. You know, he has a lot of names. People call him Omoba. People call him Okalea. That is the Benue community in Benue. Do you know the meaning of Okalea? Talk and do. If you said, I'm going to do this, he must do. So we gave him the title Okalea. And today, somebody from far away India said he's God of knowledge. So thank you, sir. And we pray for you that more recognition for you so that you can work more for the betterment and the development of the country. What of our development partners? They have tried a lot. They have been with us for the past 10 years. And even for this launch, they have been with us too. So we thank you for your effort. The directors of National Bureau of Statistics, I need to recognize them because without them, nothing can be done. We all have our shadow in the Bureau. They are the ones that are actually doing the work. AG is just the figurehead, he directs. But the directors are the ones doing the work. So on that note, I wish to thank our directors of MBS for the effort in making sure that this event takes place. What of my friends, the media? Thank you very much. You have tried for us. The day we watched Day, we had the African Statistics Day. We were all through. And even the report was marvelous. All Dick and Harry heard about the celebration of the African Statistics Day. And it is only through you that it was possible. We thank you, the media people, for ensuring that the message gets across to the wider audience. So having said that, I want to thank everybody together for participating in this event. Thank you and thank you.
Thank you very much. Director, you were directed to say thank you, but you say other things. Okay, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are just rounding off phase one. If you look at the program, which is even the main thing, is in the phase two. So we encourage that after our tea break, all of us, we have snapped all the seats, and then we know who is occupying every seat. Should anybody be missing, we know that the person is not there. We have decentralized. Okay, the tea break has been decentralized. All those in the first row, including our guest speakers that are not here, will be directed to where they came from. They know by Mr. Bona. The World Bank team, there are 2 points. The World Bank team will go to point A. I don't know where. I'm sure ushers must be directing you. And other directors and secretaries will go to point B. In that order, please, I'm sure here we, just like we know the bars the way they are, so we just take it that way gradually, hoping that in 10, 15 minutes time, we should be back for the next session. Thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. See you after tea break.
Okay, mute. Podium. Check 2. Okay.
Those are done. They've done the highlights. Those are two. Depending on the one that is coming up next. This was the highlight.
They have done that one.
Dr. Talib Kilij. Please, let's put our hands together for him. He's already standing. Thank you very much, sir. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. You guys hear my voice? Okay. Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you so much for the warm introduction. It's really an honor to be here, to join the SG and the distinguished MBS team and my World Bank team members in the launch of the GHS panel Wave 5. So we thought perhaps we can take a step back a little bit and try to place GHS panel in the broader spectrum of activities that we're supporting at the World Bank, where obviously the MPS and GHS panel has been leading the charge in terms of showcasing what a long-term partnership with a national statistical office and focus on enhancing data quality can do for policymaking and better lives. So I wanted to, there we go. I wanted to just quickly go through and give you an idea about what Living Standards Measurement Study Program is, the LSMS. Then we're going to talk very briefly about the LSMS ISA initiative, which is an initiative that ran for the past 15 years. And then we're going to introduce to you the Resilient Futures Initiative, which will build on LSMS ISA and continue supporting GHS panel with a renewed mission. So what is the Living Standards Measurement Study? The Living Standards Measurement Study is the flagship household survey program of the World Bank. And its objective is to strengthen household survey systems in low and middle income countries, and specifically for improving the quality of microdata we collect on our households and individuals to better inform development policies. So our work takes place in 3 streams, where GHS panel actually in all these three streams have received support over the last 15 years. Under our data production, our team supports NSOs and other survey practitioners in designing and implementing large-scale surveys like the GHS panel. We have a dedicated program on survey methods and tools that develops and validates improved methods of data collection from households and individuals. And several examples of that, actually SG mentioned in his remarks, whether it's the early childhood development in the latest wave or migration related data that we captured. And finally, our team conducts and also promotes the use of household survey data for policy research. So that brings us to LSMS ISA, the initiative that the GHS panel has been receiving support through, which is a unique survey, a unique system of longitudinal surveys that were designed to improve how well-being, livelihoods, and smallholder agricultural activities were intertwined with one another in Africa, and how dynamics in these dimensions actually related to one another, whether they catalyzed each other or were held back. So over the years, the LSMS ISA and the countries that are supported by the initiative has received support from several partners, most notably the Gates Foundation, USAID, as well as the project countries. So there's some delay with the slide transition. I'm not sure where I should point to. Because it's not advancing. This way? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So just to give you a bit of overview about where Nigeria sits in this initiative, that supported 8 countries in Africa: Burkina, Ethiopia, Malawi, Mali, Niger, Tanzania, and Uganda. That basically, together with Nigeria, accounts for 45% of the population in the subcontinent. And these surveys, when we instituted them, they were really trailblazing for many reasons at the time, and many of these attributes actually came to be business as usual, right, for many other surveys, including those that are implemented by the MBS, in terms of whether they were using computer-assisted personal interviewing or georeferencing household locations or making data open access in a very quick turnaround. And the other thing to emphasize is that the surveys, because of the objective that they sought to fulfill, were multi-topic in nature. So, and this is, I think, the power of the survey system, where it allows us to look at not only just smallholder agriculture, but smallholder agriculture in the context of other human development domains, whether it's health, education, jobs, and social protection. So with the LSMS-ISA, over the last 15 years, obviously Nigeria conducted 5 of these surveys, but we've conducted about 33 across all of the 8 countries, over 100,000 downloads, a very, very impressive track record of data use, which is basically culminating in more than 7,000 publications, 35% of which are actually undertaken by African researchers. And this is also a record that we're proud of, that we are going to be building on in partnership with the MBS and other academic partners also in Nigeria, so that the data use is more and more homegrown and actually practiced by local academics and research organizations. Many of you have heard a lot of accolades this morning about GHS-Panel and how unique it is. And obviously, to this day, it's the only nationally representative longitudinal surveys that is following the same families and their children over time. And that's a very unique feature that allows us to understand how these economic well-being measures that we're interested in actually change over time for the same people. And that is not a feature that is common to any other survey in Nigeria. And the longitudinal data have also been essential, as has been attested to this morning, in understanding how Nigerian households, men, women, children, have coped with the crises that have intensified across a number of years. And in all of this, an effort to produce data that speak to country needs, that is responsive. The MBS has led the charge in adopting international best practices, improved survey methods, so that the innovations that you've seen adopted in GHS-Panel ended up influencing other downstream survey operations as well, right? And I think a good example of that has been the transition to digital data collection using computers for many other surveys in Nigeria. So I wanna end my presentation talking about the future. So where do we go from here, right? So GHS-Panel has a storied past, right? It's been many people can look at the track record and say, 15 years, you've got a good run, right? And one of the things to keep in mind is that the survey data that we are aiming to collect now needs to have a very different purpose than when we designed this platform 15 years ago, because the world has changed, right? So 15 years ago, when we designed LSMS-ISA, our preoccupation was the food price crisis. If you think back, if you remember in 2007 and 2008, the global food price crisis, and now we're still talking about the food prices, but that was the preoccupation then, which was augmented by the global financial crisis. And now we have crises of many different types that are actually compounding one another, whether it's conflicts, pandemics, as well as extreme weather events, which have intensified. So in this environment, what we've been talking about in the development circles, and I can also see how it's also coming up in the discussions here in Nigeria, is the importance of resilience. How do we build more resilient societies, knowing that these shocks will keep coming they might intensify. And how do we build this resilience in such a way that not only we can cope, but we can recover and thrive? So resilience is a multidimensional concept, right? It's not just one thing that we need to think about. We need to think about consumption and income, yes. We need to have enough money in our pockets, but we also need to worry about our health, about our education, whether financial inclusion is practiced in the country, whether we have the social protection measures. So many different aspects of development we need to worry about and strengthen. So we know that crises are happening. We know that resilience is important. Now, we have a data problem, okay? So we have a data problem because oftentimes the data are inadequate to design the type of programs we need to strengthen resilience. So over the last 10 years, what has been happening is a revolution in space. So we have more satellite imagery, more geospatial data, more remote sensing done on societies, on landscapes, on countries and regions than ever before. And despite the fact that we can see the world at a greater resolution from space, and despite the fact that these data sources tell us how the risk on a very broad landscape actually varies, right? Environmental risk, for instance, it cannot tell us which households, which communities are at greater risk. It cannot tell us exactly, and whether they can or may not be able to cope if a crisis were to hit. On the other hand, you have household surveys. We have many examples of large-scale household surveys. They're valuable, but they lack the type of design features we need to be able to understand the impacts of crises, right? So, and what we need to be able to derive the type of data, knowledge to strengthen resilience is a shift in our data paradigm. It's a shift in our data paradigm that catalyzes interoperable, longitudinal, multi-topic household surveys along the lines of GHS-Panel, right? And the issue is that many countries lack the resources and the capacity to implement them, okay? So to solve this problem, we're building on a legacy and we're launching a new initiative. It's called Resilient Futures, to foster resilience in climate vulnerable geographies, which will basically deploy a cross-national harmonized platform that will meet the data and the knowledge needs of this crisis era. That will be done in collaboration with the NSO partners like the MBS and other development partners. And essentially, it will work towards giving us the data in multiple sectors that we can in turn use to build resilience in those sectors vis-a-vis future crises. And I listed a few here: health, water, jobs, education. A lot of these sectors, as you can see, they capture dimensions of development beyond just consumption and income. So Resilient Futures basically will reconceptualize existing systems in Africa, including the GHS-Panel, and then bring in other countries, 7 additional countries, so that we can begin working in 15. Basically, implementing longitudinal surveys that are going to be mixed mode, that basically pairs face-to-face interviews roughly every 3 years with phone interviews in between, that will be harmonized and that will be adopting the latest innovations to capture data in multiple dimensions of resilience along the lines of what the GHS-Panel has done. And the type of knowledge that we will gain from this platform, that the GHS-Panel will lead the charge in, will tell us how the shocks impact households and individuals, how they respond, whether their needs in regards to health, consumption, and nutrition changes, and what those outcomes look like, and whether we'll be able to deploy other technologies to capture other types of data, right, complementing household survey data, to better understand and create more localized estimates. Because we know, for instance, GHS-Panel is only representative at the zonal level, right? So the type of platform we want to put in place will be such that the GHS-Panel, when integrated with other data sources, can also tell us more disaggregated estimates of the outcomes we're interested in, whether it's at the state level or at lower levels. And at the end of the day, we'll have open data, open knowledge, and obviously, as our track record shows, enhanced country statistical capacity, together with our capacity as development partners, as well as the government, to respond to crises more effectively and to design better targeted projects to strengthen resilience. So this effort is being conceptualized right now, and our resource mobilization ongoing, as well as the partnerships around it, and we hope to be able to launch it next year. So thank you all so much.
I think Dr. Talib deserves more than that. Thank you very much. The next presentation has to do with the findings, the key findings. We shall have 5 people that are going to take it topic by topic. I'll just introduce them so that in succession I don't have to introduce them. Once it is your turn, you come and take over. The first person will be the principal statistician, Abigail. Let me see if I can call it the Yoruba way. Abigail Ambosede Solademi. Okay, Abosede. Okay. The next one is Abiola Oraseyin. Oraseyin. Oro? No, you see, no, you people will change S to H, so I don't know which one is it. Okay, and the next person will be Ekele Azubike. And of course, this one I can say now my Benue person, Winfred Ako. And of course, the last but not the least will be Clinton Aribo. Oribo. No, these are no result findings, so it doesn't matter. So, the first, please, Abigail. Thank you. Let's put our hands together for Abigail.
Thank you very much, the Statistician General. Kindly permit me to stand on the already established protocol. I will be taking us through the survey methodology adopted for the GHS-Panel from inception, 2010, up till date. So far, we have conducted 5 rounds. I think a lot has been said by the SG about the GHS-Panel, a lot. So I have little just to add. So these are the outlines of presentation. I'll be taking us through the survey methodology, while my other colleagues will take us through the other topics: the education, health, and migration, household characteristics, the food consumption, food security, and dietary diversity, as well as the agriculture component. So we go into the survey methodology. So the GHS panel, we said we should ring it. The name is GHS panel. Not just panel, not just GHS, but GHS panel, General Household Survey Panel, is the only survey in Nigeria nationally representative as a longitudinal survey so far. This is the only one. And what does it do? It allows for policymakers and researchers to track households, Nigerian households, on their resilience over a period of time. And we don't only collect information on agriculture. Many people feel panel is only agricultural survey. No, we collect information on household characteristics as well as household welfare for GHS panel. So far, as I said, we have done 5 rounds, with the first round in 2010 and 2011. The second wave was done in 2012 and 2013, while the third wave was in 2015, 2016. The fourth wave, which was the pre-pandemic,
before the COVID-19 was carried out in 2018-2019, and the last wave is the post-pandemic between 2023 and 2024. And in GHS panel, we adopt 2 visits for every round of GHS panel. We have the post-planting visit as well as the post-harvest visit. The post-planting visit is conducted between July and September, while the post-harvest is from January to March of every year. Questionnaires are always designed and updated for GHS. We have inputs from the World Bank, NBS, as well as the stakeholders. They made inputs in all the questionnaire. And these are the modules we have for the post-planting. But we had new modules in this round. We have the migration module. It is new, totally new. We have the absentees, which is totally new. Work activities, and we have the digital farming information from the Agri questionnaire, as well as petrol subsidy, awareness, and support. So we use 3 different questionnaires for panel: the household questionnaire, the agriculture questionnaire, as well as the community questionnaire. The household questionnaire are only administered to the households to solicit information from households, while the community questionnaire is administered as a focus group discussion for community members. Where the household resides, we ask this information. Modules in post-harvest. Child care is one of the new modules, and early child development is another new module. Subjective skills, migration aspirations, dietary diversity is new in the household questionnaire. For the agriculture questionnaire, still the digital farming information, and we have the community questionnaire with social norms new, expectations on climate extremes and past experience also a new model. For the survey implementation, as we all know now, NBS carry out its own data collection using the CAPI. So we've passed through the era of using paper questionnaire. What we do now is to use the computer-assisted personal interview, CAPI, and the software we use is the survey solution software. And this is developed by the Development Data Group of the World Bank. That's the software for data capturing. So not only did we collect information on household, for every household that said they have an agri activity, they have a plot, we go to the farm to measure the plot using the GPS and also a GPS device embedded into the CAPI to measure all accessible plots. So for the sample design, the original GHS panel sample was drawn since 2010, which is 5,000. And since wave 1, we have been visiting these households. So after nearly a decade of visiting the households, we felt there is need for a refresh so as to maintain the integrity and representativeness of the survey. So they had to come a partial refresh. And what do we mean by this? It means we are dropping some households which we have been studying and bringing in new households on board. And this was done in the wave 4 of the panel. So we brought in new set of households, over 3,500 households. From the wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, we were losing households from the sample, and we needed to maintain integrity and representativeness of the data. So we brought in new, we retained some. The one retained, we call them the long panel households, while the new ones, we call them the refresh households. So in all, we studied 518 enumeration areas in panel across the 36 states and the FCT, with 4,715 households. So from the long panel households, we have 1,376 households, and from the refresh, we have 3,339 households for the new one. So this sample combined is representative at the national level, the zonal level, as well as the urban-rural level. To have quality data, there must be adequate training for the field staff. So we adopted 2 levels of training. We had the training of trainers conducted at Abuja and the training of the enumerators in Ibadan. Also, we put in quality assurance into the work. We had the in-person monitoring, that is people on ground all through the survey, visiting the team, checking what they are doing, and making correction where necessary. So this was carried out by the MBS technical team and the state officers as well as the zonal controllers in the state. So there were people on the field throughout the data collection. Not only this, we had remote monitoring done by the ICT team as well as the LSMS team of the World Bank. And what they do was to make sure they scrutinize every data coming in, checking on daily basis to review the interviews. And if there are any issues, these were addressed immediately as the team were on the field. So one major activity that we also carried out in panel is what we call the tracking exercise. So in the course of the main survey, some households had relocated from the original place. Some were not at home at the time of interview, but we still need to retain them in the sample. So what we did is to interview them after the main survey. That's called the tracking phase. And the interviewers were instructed to collect information about such households, their names, their new address, their new location. These were collected. And this exercise was carried out in both the post-planting and the post-harvest visits. So I will stop here while I call my colleague to continue with the highlights.
Thank you very much, Abigail. Good afternoon, SG. Please to permit me to write on the existing protocol. My name is Abiola MC, Abiola Arosonyi. So I will quickly take us through the highlights, the findings. As we have listened to the methodology, let's say, just like my colleague started in the morning, we have seen some of the highlights. I will just expatiate further. Then my next colleague will come. So I will quickly talk about the findings from the education, health, and the migration module. Over the years, the GHS-Panel has collected a variety of information on education, health, and migration in Nigeria. But for the first time, we have additional indicator under the education, which is the early childhood development. The same thing with the migration module, we have a new indicator, which is talking about the aspiration of Nigerians that still want to japa. You know, we can't stop talking about this japa syndrome. And there's a good thing that GHS is giving us some information on what has happened in the last 5 years in Nigeria with the japa syndrome. Let's quickly look at the literacy level of our children in Nigeria, and not just our children, even the adults now. I'm talking about the population of people above 5 years old, 5 years and above. You agree with me that literacy is still a big challenge in Nigeria, as just 60.9%. That is about 61% of Nigeria can read and write in any language, including English, including Arabic, including Yoruba, Hausa, or Igbo, or even French. What if we have to conduct the study in your local language alone? What would be the percentage? Or in English alone, or in Arabic alone? So it still poses a very big challenge. When we look at this data across the zone, you will agree with me with what you are seeing here, that we still have a southern, they are trying their best, but we still have against the northern part of the country. So it still poses more challenge in terms of the literacy. By the time you look at the data again across the sexes, between the male and female sexes, we can see who is doing better. We can see from this data that the male they seem to be doing better than the female. What has happened to the women? We don't want to read and write. We are interested. Stop sending us to the kitchen alone. Send us to school. So I will go further into the education trends. What has happened between wave 4 and wave 5? In the wave 4, we have this revelation, 3 different indicators under the education. In the wave 4, we discovered that about 13.4% of the members of the household studied in GHS-Panel were attending school at one point or the other. But by the time we go back in the wave 5, we discovered that this has reduced to 9.3. So what has happened in between the 5 years? This is a decrease. We expected it to increase. So I'm happy that the Ministry of Education is being represented here today. This is a good indicator for us to take off from here. And when we are talking about this age category, we are looking at the children between the age of 10 and 19, 5 years ago. These children, they have grown up to join the teenagers group now, between the ages of 15 and 24. These are our youth. In wave 4 again, you will see that people that are currently attending school as at the time of the survey, they were above 70%. That's over 73% of them. They were currently attending school at the time of the interview in the wave 4. That is 5 years ago. But shockingly, by the time we went back for this round, we discovered that half of these people are out of school. And we conducted a further research to find out what has happened to these people. If they are not in school, where are they? And we discovered that about 70% of these children that are out of school, they are not in education, not in employment or training, which has made our needs indicator to grow. Just about 30% of them are working. And that is what reduces our currently attending school to just about 44%. Another good indicator there is people that are out of school. You will agree with me that if you were in school 5 years ago and you are out now, that has made the indicator out of school for wave 5 to increase from what we have in wave 4. So please, Ministry of Education, we expect you to take this up and see what happened to our teenagers. I will quickly from here go into the early childhood development. I told you that this is the first time we are studying this in the GHS-Panel survey. We look at different indicators under the literacy, as well as the numeracy and the executive functioning. And so under the literacy, if we check this data critically, you will see that some of our children, when it comes to naming at least 10 letters, they are doing a bit okay. The national figure, we can see where we are. But by the time we go further to say, okay, can you just call simple 4-letter words? Majority of them are still performing below the average in the rural and both in the urban. People have expected that this urban data will have been better, but we discovered that whether rural or urban, they are all falling below the average. We are talking about the children between the age of 4 and 6. If a child of 5 years old cannot learn 4-letter words conveniently, to some extent, then it poses a very big challenge to us, to our education system in Nigeria. Another thing we can look at there is our children that can count between 1 to 20. We discovered that 1 to 10, majority of them, they are doing well in that area. That is like over 80% of them, over 86% of them they do well in counting between 1 to 10. But by the time you increase it to 1 to 20, they begin to drop. And this majority of them fall below the average. But the national figure is telling us something like 69.5. It means we also need to do more in terms of this. The same thing still repeated is when it comes to the executive functioning. I will quickly move from there to health indicator. Under the health indicator, I quickly want to talk about people that the share of individuals that experience one form of health problem or the other in the last 4 weeks before the survey. And we discovered that 20% of the household being studied, 30% of the individual being studied reported that they have been to the facility to report one health problem or the other. Out of this 20%, the findings further reveals that over 66, that's about 67% of them, they have reported the cases of malaria. And you agree with that this is one thing that is killing our children a lot in Nigeria. So Ministry of Health, Thank you for sharing the mosquito net, but we still have more to do in preventing malaria in Nigeria. That is followed by typhoid. Of course, most times they treat the two together. They usually intertwine with each other. And the least being reported among these individuals is the issue of injury and hypertension. We know this affects the adults and the middle-aged people more, which is at the side of just 2.7%. I'm coming from its problem now going into malnutrition data. We use anthropometric to get our malnutrition data, and we have 3 good indicators there, talking about the stunting, the wasting, as well as the underweight. When I go through this data, I became worried. What happened to us? How did we get here? These are children between the ages of 6 months and 59 months. Children below the age of 5, they are highly vulnerable. And you will agree with me that in the case of stunting, it's something that can easily be reversed if there's immediate action. In the case of wasting, rather. But when it comes to stunting, it's most time usually not reversible. It takes a lot to be able to reverse the issue of stunting if discovered early, because most time it started from the womb and when the child is just under 5. But we discovered that many of our children, over 40%, this 42.7% of them, when in terms of the boys, are stunted. How would they find a good wife when they grow up? If a man is short, you know it's a big challenge. He'll be looking for the tall woman to marry. So this poses a very big challenge to us. We don't want our children to be short for their age. So we need to do more in the area of nutrition. Apology to the short people like me. But honestly, we can do better in the area of nutrition. And I try to marry this, our nutrition data, the health data, with the education data. If a child is malnourished, such a child cannot assimilate well in the school. So it affects their mental health as well, and the brain functioning. And if a child is malnourished, the child cannot really function in school. Such a child cannot grow up to be part of the productive society. And this in turn will affect our human capital development in the long run. So it's a very serious incident. So we need to look at it very well. Then let's quickly look at the migration trend. We discover in the study, in the GHS-Panel study, that almost half of the household being studied have at least one of their members that have JAPA into most of the countries that Shamsuddin highlighted in the morning. We know the one that have the highest. They're even ready to go to Cameroon. You can imagine, almost half, they have somebody that have gone at one point or the other. Why are they leaving? I don't know the answer, but we need to answer that. But what can we do to retain them? And I kept saying something about the time that this will in turn result to what we call brain drain for the country. If most of our intellectual people are leaving, what happened to the country? So we need to look at this very well. The last thing I'll be talking about is the migration aspiration. We have talked about people that have already left, but trust me, more still want to go. The further analysis tell us that nationally, we can set a figure about 25.6% of them, if they have the opportunity today, they want to leave their community, either permanently or temporary. On this note, I would like to invite my colleague to take over from here. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll be taking us through household characteristics. GHS-Panel has collected extensive information on household characteristics, so we'll be discussing some of them here this afternoon. And the first indicator that we'll be discussing on is the housing ownership. As we all know, dwelling is an important asset for most households.
Everybody wants to own their own house, their own dwelling. Nationally, 7 households out of 10 households in Nigeria reported living in the dwelling they own. We can see an important difference between the rural sector and the urban sector. That most people in the rural sector live in the household they own. That's 80.1% of households live in the dwelling they own. While in the urban center, 49.1% of households live in the dwelling they own, while 40.2% live in rented apartments. The next indicator we'll be discussing is energy source. And for the energy sources, the first one we'll be discussing is the cook stove fuel. We'll see a shift from the use of kerosene to a more modernized cook stove fuel, which is the liquefied petroleum gas. A lot of people now shift to the use of cooking gas, which is the modern cooking gas. That means a lot of people are now using a safer source of energy or a cleaner source of energy to prepare their meals. Then the next indicator we'll be discussing under energy sources is access to electricity. From the results, we notice that 1 out of every 2 households have access to electricity. Despite that, we notice also that most households, despite having access to electricity, still have challenge with unstable access to electricity. And from the result, we notice 6.7 outages occur every week. And each of the outages lasts for 12 hours per outage. And that gives us 67.2 hours of outages every 7 days. Next, we'll be discussing on is economic shock. When we talk about economic shock, we don't mean electric shock. We mean events that occur in a country that affects the well-being or welfare of households. From the results, we notice a lot of households reported 71.0% of increase in price of items, food items. And if we look through the results, we see that 4 out of the 5 most common economic shock, increase in prices affected 4 of the economic shocks. And the least is flood, which is 8.8%. Then for the coping mechanism, most households use reduced food consumption as a means of coping out of the economic shock, which stood at 46.8%, and the least is credited purchases, which stood at 11.5. They'll be looking at wealth mobility in GHS-Panel. For the wealth mobility, the GHS-Panel used asset ownership as to create asset index to group most households into 3. The first one is the upward mobility, which is moving towards the wealth quanta, while the second one is no mobility. That means they remain the same. while the third one is downward mobility. That means they moved away from the wealth quantile. And this data was gotten from both wave 4 and wave 5 of asset ownership. From the results, we noticed that 41.7 of the households remained the same. They did not change their wealth distribution, while 29.4% moved upward to the wealth quantile, while 28.9% moved away from the wealth quantile. Then for the wealth change mechanism, we notice that most households that moved upward to the wealth quantile, most of them are likely to have saved, or some of them might have borrowed money, and lastly, some of them might have received remittances. While those that move downward to the wealth quantile are less likely to have saved, or borrowed money, or received remittance from their families. Thank you very much. I call on the next presenter.
I'm Winifred Ako, and I'll be taking us on the food consumption, food security, and dietary diversity for the GHS panel, some key findings. From our data collected, we all know that food is an important expenditure in households, and it contributes a larger share to the Nigerian economy. The GHS panel collected data on food consumption for both the post-planting and the post-harvest season. And from the data gotten, we discovered that there was minimal differences between the post-harvest and the post-planting data gotten. For the post-harvest data gotten, we could see that a larger share of the household consumed spices and condiments in the past 7 days preceding the interview date. And the least consumed item there is the milk and milk products, which shows a share of 35.5% households. And also, we discovered there's something important that we discovered from the result that was analyzed. The post-harvest data showed that households reduced consumption on all food items in this wave 5 compared to wave 4 data post-harvest collected. And that, particularly in food items such as sugar, milk, and fruit, these items significantly decreased in consumption than in the wave 4 data collected for the post-harvest season. Another indicator that was collected on is the food insecurity. For the food insecurity, something that was discovered in the food insecurity from the result gotten is that there was a significant increase in the proportion of households that reported that they were unable to eat enough food in the past 30 days preceding the interview in wave 5 compared to the data gotten in wave 4. We saw that approximately 2 out of 3 households were unable to eat good, healthy, nutritious, or preferred meal in the past 30 days as a result of lack of money. Something interesting to note for this particular data is that the female-headed household experienced conditions of food insecurity compared to the male-headed household. I don't know why that is the case. I believe the gender can take a look, gender stakeholders can look into this. The female-headed household experienced this condition, food insecurity, than the male-headed household. Another thing the GHS panel tried to look at is experiences of panel household on food insecurity incidents from wave 4 to wave 5. And from the incidences, we could see that the panel, can we go to the next slide, please? We could see that the experiences of this household was categorized into 4 categories. The first category is a positive stability. This is represented by the green color, dark green color over there on the chart. For the dark green, for the positive stability, these are share of household that did not experience food insecurity in wave 4 and in wave 5. For example there, when we look at those that were not worried about, 27.9% of this household were not worried about not having enough food for both wave 4 and wave 5. The second category of households there is improvement. What do we mean by that? These are households that reported food insecurity in wave 4, but in wave 5, the opposite is the case. For instance, there is an increase of 9.7%. Those that reported that they were worried about not having enough food to eat as a result of lack of money in wave 4, these persons no longer experience that food insecurity. So the conditions have improved for this share of households. The third one there is decline. This set of households reported food insecurity conditions, incidences in wave 5. But in wave 4, they reported food security. They were food secured in wave 4. But in wave 5, reported food insecurity. We could see that 35.3% of this household that did not report about being worried of not having enough food because of lack of money in wave 4 are now reporting that they are worried. I believe this should be a bit of a concern, because this is a decline of 35.3% that are now food insecure. The last category there is the negative stability. This group of households were food insecure in wave 4 and still in food insecure in wave 5. As you can see there, 31.8% of this household reported that they were unable to eat healthy and nutritious preferred food as a result of lack of money in wave 4, and still reported the same in wave 5. Next data that was collected on is dietary diversity for women. Minimum dietary diversity for women of reproductive age 15 and 19. What do we mean by dietary diversity? It is expected that women within this age group should consume at least 5 of the recommended food groups in the previous day or night. So this minimum dietary diversity assesses women that have been able to consume at least these 5 food groups. And from the data gotten, we could see that at the national level, 43.5% of these individuals were able to meet this minimum dietary diversity. Looking at the data at the zonal level, the North Central Zone had a lower rate at 31%. But the case is different for Southeast, where more than half of the women consume at least 5 of these food groups in the previous day or night. Then we look at it at the urban and rural area. The disparity there isn't much. 42.3% for the rural and 46.4% for the urban area. Next also is the dietary diversity. For the dietary diversity, assesses individuals within the ages of 15 to 49, but this includes both male and female. And it also tries to assess individuals that have consumed at least 5, they recommended 5 daily food items, daily or in the previous day prior to the interview. And from the data gotten, it shows that approximately 1 in 4 individuals meet this dietary diversity needs. And also from the data, we could see that 21.7% of individuals that were surveyed met this dietary diversity. And what are those food items? We are looking at pulses, we are looking at staple foods, nuts or seeds, we are looking at fruits. These are some of the items that is expected to be consumed daily. And then we could also see that there's still differences in the north, between the north and the south. North Central, I'm from the North Central, still has a lower rate at 14.8. But the Southeast has 33%. The disparity between the urban and rural zone shows that the rural area has a lower rate compared to the urban. The rural has 20.2% of the individuals met up with that dietary diversity, while in the urban it's 25.7%. So these are some of the key findings gotten from the food consumption, food security, and dietary diversity. More can be found in the report. Thank you, as I call my colleague.
Standing on the already established protocol, I'll be making my presentation on the agricultural aspect of the GHS-Panel survey. Agriculture remains as the mainstay of many Nigerian households, but the prevalence varies across the zone. In Nigeria, 7 out of 10 households reported to be engaged in crop farming activity. Also, a higher proportion of households in the northern zone reported to participate in crop farming compared to households in the southern zone. However, 42.8% of the households reported to have been engaged in livestock activity. Like crop farming, more households in the northern zone were engaged in livestock activity compared to households in the southern zone. While the percentage of households that were engaged in fishing activity were low compared to those in crop farming and livestock activity, fishing remains a very important agricultural activity for households, especially in the north central zone and in the south zone, respectively. The GHS-Panel also gathered information on the land tenure system that were practiced by the household. Land is another important asset for households' financial stability as well as for their wealth accumulation. The figure shows the variation in land titles across plots that were managed by male and females. Family receipt is the most common type of land title for male managed plot, representing 31.6%, while the most prevalent is title deed at 29.9% for plots managed by females. Another very interesting aspect of the GHS-Panel is the use of farming inputs. The use of farming input has a significant effect on productivity. Nationally, male managed plots reported higher usage of farming inputs compared to plots that were managed by females. The 3 most common farming inputs used on cultivated plots were herbicides, inorganic fertilizer, and organic fertilizer. From the data, you could see that only 8.7% of the plot reported the use in the GHS panel result has to do with the share of livestock owning households. In Nigeria, 68% of the households reported to own sheep, goat, and pig, while the households that reported to own poultry were 56.2%, with only 8.4% of the household reporting the ownership of large livestock. However, the most common type of livestock owned by male-headed households were sheep, goat, and pig, while the ownership of poultry is more common among households, among female households. The participation of extension service by households were generally low. The data shows that only 24.4% of the household received extension service, with urban household participation higher with 26.9%, compared to rural households at 23.9%. The three most common extension service received by households were advice they received on the use of new seed variety, followed by fertilizer use and pest control. The GHS panel is a unique tool that allows policymakers tracking Nigerian households to understand their resilience over time. For more information, including the data and the report, can be found using the QR code. Thank you.
Please, a beautiful round of applause for all the presenters. They have raised fundamental questions. Of their interest is the talented men that when they're too short, they don't find a woman to marry. I just told her that that is not always true. Otherwise, let's ask Akin and Popo and see how many men are competing over them in spite of their size. All you need is the requisite things that are needed by women. And you become a... Name them is within the next lecture. All right, quickly, I have been informed by organizers that if we really want to make use of the money we have paid for, the large sum of money we have paid for lunch, we have to leave here in the next 30 minutes. Otherwise, all effort would have been wasted. And because of that one, we are going to skip the question and answers. In the next presentation, they will possibly even answer the question you would have wished to ask. But if there is time, then we can do. And for the first time, like we said, you know, this is a summary of the whole book that we did in 20 minutes. Therefore, I hope, as our lecturers have been informed, that nobody exceeds you are allowed to take 5 minutes, but exceeding 10 minutes will be something else as indicated in the program. Of course, we have two presenters today. Pardon me on my side, I didn't even find out whether they are around. I want to believe that all of them are around. Okay. The first presenter, thank God there is a timer here. If you are not, you time yourself here, so that if you are the 7 or 8 minutes, you know that you have 2 minutes. Is a director with the Resource and Environmental Policy Research Center, Environment for Development Nigeria, University of Nigeria, and Nsukka, and is going to be on the potential use of GHS-Panel. Please, let's welcome Professor Nnameka Chukwone. Did I call that correct? I'm beginning. You were calling.
Who is controlling this?
Pardon? Okay.
The person controlling the PowerPoint.
Okay. Please, for the second presenter, if there's anything you haven't reconciled with the secretariat, we'll do that.
Okay, right, thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. As we wait for the PowerPoint to show, my name is Nnemeka Chupone. I am the director of EFD Nigeria, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And I want to present, in terms of how we've been using the GHS data. I'm particularly presenting on a research that we did on climate smart agriculture, which we used the 3 panels. We've been doing other research. We were concluding a research which we also did with the 4 panels on which we studied ant banditry and combining the GHS with the ACLED data. So we've done some quite other studies. But this is the one we used, the panel 1, 2, 3, to study CSA in Nigeria, impact of CSA technologies in Nigeria. Right. So thank you very much. Let me, because of the time, I will quickly go in and then. Okay, yeah. So I will just the presentation outline, just to run through it, introduction, methodology, findings, and policy implications. I want to say that the title, I changed this to which you. Is this thing working? I'm not seeing it. Can you go back to the first slide? Please, the first one, the title. Yeah, I discussed using the Nigeria GHS-Panel data for research to inform policy. Because the data set, apart from what the MBS presented about the story of the data, in terms of that, but the key thing is which the Station General said was to use the data to inform policy in Nigeria. So this is concerning the informing policy on agriculture, climate issues, climate smart agriculture in Nigeria in relation to the NDCs, in relation to the national adaptation process that's going on. So that's it. I just wanted to point that out. So next, please. Next. So now, why did we study? The motivation for this study was based on the climate change projections and what's happening in sub-Saharan Africa now. And then we know that climate change resulted in a 34% drop in agricultural productivity growth in Africa, more than other regions since 1961. And current predictions show that compared to 2005 yields, global warming above 2 degrees centigrade will result in reduced yields of most staple crops across Africa. That's the last IPCC report, 2022. And that tells you that it's a major issue. So we need to study it. And we know that farmers in Sub-Saharan Africa also have other overlapping constraints like loss of soil, fertility, pests, and diseases that's happening to them. And all this combined with the issue of climate change. And what is required in terms of is to intensify agricultural production in order to increase productivity, household income, and food security. So now, we needed to be able to achieve this. We needed to understand the drivers of multiple climate. I want to cut it short, climate smart agriculture, which is a major input in terms of technologies that can be used to challenge or adapt to climate change. So although there have been previous studies, like for us in academics, we try to show the gap in the study and then what we are feeling. So although there have been previous studies, they've not really covered the issue of sustainable agricultural intensification, practice that requires joint adoption of integrated land and crop management alternatives to deal with overlapping constraints due to climate change. So to find that solution to climate change, we decided to examine the complementarity of these technologies to see how combining them, whether combining them on single, will have better effect in the farmers' plots. So to do this, next slide, please. So to do this, we looked at different technologies that farmers are using. crop diversification, and which is sustainable intensification practice that involves growing more than one crop across space or time, which involves exploitation of joint beneficial interaction of those different crop or those technologies together, like water management, like issue of using organic fertilizer and all that. Then we also looked at the use of organic fertilizer, one of the technologies. The other technology, can you go on please, is improved seed. We looked at improved seed. All this, I'm going to show how we found it in the data. And then we also looked at, we believe that adopting these technologies, which are climate smart, could help improve income and improve productivity for the farmers. So we're looking at adopting these technologies have any impact on the farmers, on their income and productivity, especially net income. So can you go to, let me go to the next slide, methodology. So now let me talk about this a bit. Well, how do you do this? We use the GHS data, the panel data, panel 2.1, 2.12, 2.13, 2.14, and 2.15, 2.16. And this data set, we told us how it was collected by MBS, covering 5,000 households. But because of attrition, some of the households, because of attrition, we, on the whole, in the first wave, we had 4,997 households. Then in the second, 4,746 households. And in the third, 4,611 households. And the MBS told us that some of these households dropped out because of especially security in the Northeast, insecurity in the Northeast. So that's why many of them dropped out. So, but just it's 8% attrition rate, which is not much. It will not really have any, it didn't really have any impact on the findings. So now the questionnaire that we saw, and then because when you want to use, the beauty about this GHS data is that when you want to use it, it has so many questions. So for you as a researcher to use it, you must know how to handle data. So that's one of the key things. Some researchers don't use it because they don't understand how to handle data. Many of the data come in different files and across different questionnaires. So now the questions that we concentrated on was in terms of, you had both the household module and the community module. And the household module also have identification in terms of location where the person is living, in terms of geographic location, climate characteristics, which we try to use recorded georeference household level latitude and longitude coordinates, which allowed us to link household level data to historical temperature and precipitation. So that's all collected in the data. So, and it helped us to be able to link that well and to be able to identify those climate smart agriculture and study at the plot level. So plot level, at the plot level, we did this. We used the data at the plot level. So now, how did we now measure the issue? We said we use empirical method that models farmer decision regarding adoption of portfolio of CSA practices and simultaneous models to influence the CSA practice in the farm return. So we try to, because normally adoption is a kind of, a multivariate, is inherently multivariate because a farmer may not adopt only one technology of these technologies. So we have like 5. You can find farmers who adopted 1, 2, 3, or all of them complete. So we wanted to know the impact of multiple adoption or single adoption on the net income of the farmers. So we combined 2 methods. We used a 2-stage estimation procedure we used, endogenous switching regression with multiple probit model. So in the first stage, there was a multivariate probit model we used to analyze the determinants of adoption. And in the second stage, we did estimation of the impact using the endogenous switching regression. So, and note that the study recognizes differences in farm income between those households that did not adopt CSA practice may be due to selection bias. Because sometimes, I don't want to go into the real academics. I just want to present the thing about, so because I don't want to go into explain the issue of selection bias and all that in the sample. But we try to deal with that with the methods we're using in endogenous switching regression. So the results. So can you go to the real right? So this is the choice of adoption of different climate smart agriculture. So you will see that across plots, you see that across crop diversification, in 2011, was 81.6% on the plots. In 2013, what I mean by that panel was 3.33, and in 2016, 80.00%. So overall, crop diversification was 81.6% was adopted across the plots. Now, in terms of improved seeds, it's 72.04% in wave 1, 78.58 in wave 2, 53.78 in wave 3, and an average 67.99. So you could see that the least adopted was organic fertilizer, where you had across the plots, you had 7.65% in wave 1, 5.34 in wave 2, and 9.19 in wave 3, with average of 14.8%. Then, and that was why we said, on average, about 95% of the household adopted one or more of the CSA practices. Close to 1% of the household adopted the 4 practices jointly, while less than 17% of the households employed only one of these strategies. So the result, I won't go into this table. So can you go on, please, so that I can see? Go on. That's gone. So this is a result of the multivariate. I don't want to go into the detail. It's not necessary here. So Des, you can go on the next one. So we're looking at the effects of adoption. Maybe this one you would like to see. So can you go on to the effects of adoption? That is the result, the actual result of effects of adoption. Because I said the other table was looking at the multivariate study, looking at determinants of adoption, but in terms of the impact of adoption of either adopting one technology, 2, 3, or multiple technology, like 4 of them is what you're seeing on the board. So when you look at it, you will notice that generally, the adoption of a technology led to an increase in net income of the farmer. But adoption of multiple technologies led to a higher increase. So if you look at the adoption rate, you see the stars. Those stars show they are significantly different from the household that did not adopt and those that adopted, the counterfactual. So I didn't go into all those areas of using adopted and not adopted counterfactual. I just wanted to go straight. So but you could see the difference and the adoption effects. So whenever you see 3 stars, it shows that it was significant. The adoption effect was significant. So when they adopted organic fertilizer only, for those between those who are adopting it and those who didn't adopt the counterfactual, it had effect. But if you go down, you will see when they adopted 4, the croppers, all of them, you could see the difference in income was higher for those who adopted multiple practices than those who adopted only 1 or 2 practices. So which shows you that multiple adoption is a case in point that you can make for policy. I'm going to go into that in terms of helping farmers to enhance their productivity and enhance their income. So that's what I was trying to explain, the column 1, 2. Can you go to the next slide, please? So let me know, this is what I just explained. Let me not go into it for want of time. So let's go straight to the policy implications. First, I didn't go into detail about the coefficient estimates of the probit model, but it gave us information that is very critical in terms of policy. First, it shows that, if you look at what it says, it shows that that households and agroecological zone characteristics influence the likelihood of adoption of CSA practices. Households and agroecological zone characteristics. These include plot level shocks, soil characteristics, market access, wealth, tenure security, and demographic characteristics. So what does it inform us? It tells us that the analysis of the role of these variables in determining the choice of portfolio of practices can be used to design policies that enhance the climate change adoption possibilities among farmers. So when designing climate change adoption possibilities, or when there are direct intervention in terms of not autonomous, but clear adaptation interventions, you begin to consider these issues in terms of plot level characteristics and demographic characteristics, and especially the zone. The geopolitical zone or the agroecological zone where it's coming, because the climate change effect differ across agroecological zones. So in designing interventions by the Ministry of Agriculture or by other agents or non-government agents that are intervening in these places, it is important to consider this in the intervention. How will it affect adoption? How will it affect the impact even when the farmer has adopted? Then the other thing is that, I also mentioned that, for instance, the significance of tenure security. Because in that model, the tenure security was significant. I saw when they presented about land tenure and all this. It was significant in determining adoption. And in that sense, he said is influencing the probability of adoption of CSA practices, calls attention to the importance of securing property rights as an incentive in climate change adoption. Because if there are secure property rights, a farmer will be able to freely use a plot. Because if there are no tenure rights, the farmer will not be able to apply a technology. Will feel that if I do this, who will benefit? I will just farm there for only 1 year or thereabout. But when you have tenure security, the farmer will be able to decide fully the type of practices he or she will apply in a particular plot, and the extent of application. So in those areas where especially women have issues with tenure security, issues like having a kind of portfolio of maybe trying to tell how do you donate land and all that, legalizing it or putting into a kind of a law how you can legalize people to take land, even from community land, will enable more people to take and own it temporarily, and then be able to put in some CSA practices to improve their productivity and also improve their income. This is the policy implication. So I also said the similar relation between agricultural zones and adoption of CSA practice implies the need for careful design and targeting of agricultural ecological-based combinations of CSA practices. I mentioned that before, that in zones where you have difficulties, different changes or things you can find out in line with the climate change effects, it's important to consider it in designing interventions for farmers. So this result is showing us that, and that's the information we're getting. So now, adoption options shouldn't be considered independently. Can you go on to the next slide, please? And policy options should tailor packages of adoption practice to specific areas. So you don't consider adoption in terms of single technology. It is always, studies have shown, as this one has shown, that multiple adoption of technologies give the farmer more benefit. It makes the farmer to have more income, more productivity, and all that. So interventions cannot just say, okay, we want to give organic fertilizer. You should be able to check what other technologies the farmer is applying in that field. There are some, maybe government want to intervene in a particular area, and they just want to bring one technology to the farmer. It's of no use if the farmer is not applying other technologies that can have combined effects to be able to improve the performance of the farmer, improve his income and productivity. So policymakers should explicitly design strategies that enhance the adoption of externally purchased technology, farm inputs, jointly with the local available knowledge-intensive land management options. It's important to say this because most of the adoption happening in our fields are autonomous. Few are targeted. So if we want to have increased productivity, the data is showing us that we should target CSA interventions, we should target technologies, and be able, based on that targeting, so that we'll be able, not just a farmer trying to do something he's not very much aware, which we call autonomous, but you target it based on this technology, and the farmer will be able to have increased production and increased income. So, and I said the following conclusion can be derived. First, the adoption of individual CSA practices increases income compared to non-adoption. That one is certain. Second, the adoption of multiple CSA provides higher farm returns than adoption of individual practices. That is certain. Third, the highest farm income was achieved when farmers adopted all practices jointly rather than partially. So it's important, in a summary, to show that the GHS data is very good to inform policy when you use it properly. And it demands also some capacity to be able to do that because not everybody can handle the data the way they appear. And so not everybody can also think to be able to be innovative on what this data can study because it can study loads of things, especially when we are looking at impact studies. So because many of them serve as baseline, some of the GHS-Panel serve as baseline, while some others serve as post-intervention. Take, for example, the study of COVID. The fourth panel was collected before COVID, and this now was collected after COVID. So we can use it to study the impacts of interventions in COVID or what happened during COVID. You will see how it affects farmers. During the COVID era, we're just doing interviewing farmers how they feel COVID has affected them. But now with this data, someone can run a clear analysis to show how COVID affected farmers. Because you are now using both you have a pre-intervention data set and a post-intervention data set, and then you'll be able to isolate the farmers in terms of the treated and the untreated, the counterfactual, to be able to look at the impact of COVID. I'm just giving an example. So, and that's what scientists do, and to be able to provide information for policy, and that's what the data is doing. So thank you very much for listening.
I'm sure this is an international sampler looking at the paper here as well. Please, applause for him once again. The Sergeant General has one clear message is coming from him, that there is need for greater synergy and collaboration, because one thing to have a good and robust data like this is another thing to apply it and apply it correctly. Bona, I don't know, you are the planners that say we should close by 12, but of course, Nestle, so we quickly take the next and the last paper, and we are at the mercy of the presenter, and thank God, she's a senior lecturer of the Department of Agricultural Economics and Farm Management, University of Ilorin, Dr. Mercy Funke Salami. Please, let's welcome.
Thank you very much. I would like to say that I won't take your time. It's just going to be very brief. So the Statistician General, all ministers ably represented, and all protocols duly observed. I am Dr. Mercy Salami, and today I will be, how do you know? Okay. Please, is my slide on? Okay. Thank you. So, permit me to start with the word of the British mathematician that says data is the new oil. So, for us to be able to utilize these data sets adequately, there's need to refine it. And all I'll be saying today will be around that: the uses, advantages, limitations, and recommendations of the GHS panel. So the outline I'll be following is this. I'll just talk about the merits, the uses, the limitations, recommendations. I'll give a case study, and I'll conclude. So, to the merits of the GHS panel, I would like to say a big thank you to MBS and the World Bank, because the data sets, the GHS data sets, has helped to shape the research space for academic researchers. Because before the advent of the GHS, we don't have access to comprehensive data sets because of challenges bordering around collecting robust data, as well as scarcity of grants. So most Nigerian researchers rely on small sample size to conduct their research. But now that we have the GHS panel, I must say that the narratives have changed, because we now have access to direct comprehensive data sets that is representative enough to inform policy. More so, the data set have gone a long way to support high-impact research. You know, some of these high-impact journal factors, particularly the Q1 journals, you can't go there and be talking about 120 farmers when we are talking of a country that has over 200 million population. But with the advent of the GHS panel data set, we now have Nigerian researchers publishing in these top journals because we have access to a comprehensive data set thanks to the GHS team. More so, this data has gone a long way to give us evidence-informed policies. We don't just speak out of the moon. We now have evidence to show forth and to shape our policy, because the data sets go a long way to link agriculture to a number of socioeconomic outcomes. A lot of the, things have been said today about the interesting topics in the GHS panel. So we have a lot of data that have been done on these topics, these interesting topics: food security, economic shock, education, agricultural productivity and production, as well as asset ownership. And you can see that these areas are the areas where Nigerian researchers have done a lot. The data set, the GHS panel, has been so useful to conduct academic research, policy research, and of course, it has built the capacity. When I listen to the presentation of the MBS staff, I must say that their capacity have really been improved because of their participation in the collection of these high-impact data sets. Now, a lot have been said about the uses, but I said in my opening statement that data is the new oil. If you look at oil, it's not all about the petrol that you bring from the crude oil. We can get the kerosene, we can get the gasoline, and a whole lot of other things. That is just the way the data is. The potential is there for us to do much more than what we are doing. We can move from the reactive policy formation we have to the proactive one, and that is what we actually need. So I can say that the GHS has a number of potentials for simulation and forecasting. This will help to shape our policies in order to get the desired sustainable development that we want as a nation. Also, there is also potential to analyze effectiveness of social protection programs. Before now, I was thinking I would present another topic, and I was able to see how some of the Nigerian data sets have shown us what actually happened during the COVID time. Some of the interventions that were put in place have shown a lot of things, but the results are hidden because we have not refined it. So I think it's high time we start pulsing the progress, just like the World Bank Group is having the Pulsing the Progress conference very soon. We need to start pulsing the progress of the GHS panel as well, so that we can get the very best out of it. Then also research on school enrollment, literacy and educational quality needs attention. We have the data set, but there is need for us to use it to shape the educational sector in Nigeria. We have a number of drawbacks as academic researchers. The first is the fact that you cannot use panel data if you don't have the required technicalities to run these data sets. So, and the problem we have is the fact that the technical skills needed to handle the panel data set is currently low among Nigerian academic researchers. Another challenge we have with this data set is the fact that there's limited awareness. I was one of the cohorts for the Land Economics and Governance Fellowship that was hosted by ARC, African Economic Research Consortium, in partnership with the World Bank in 2019. And 20 Africans were selected for technical training in order to build the capacity. But we are just 2 Nigerians there. So there is no way 2 persons can influence this. So that aspect is a limitation that if the MBS in partnership with World Bank can work on, then we have much more output in our raw material, because I see the data as a raw material. And also the other issue is that the GHS panel does not have not captured some emerging and trending issues like mental health indicators. Because of the polycrisis era we have now, a lot is happening in the mental health space. So if we can have data sets in this, it will go a long way to shape policy, to guide the future. So, like the example I gave, training is needed. When we are trained, oh my goodness, okay?
No, her TV went off here, so
Okay.
maybe you...
Oh, okay, I thought everything was off.
No.
I wasn't looking back. So I'm almost done with my super story. I have just a few minutes. So let me just give an instance. This program was the Land Economics and Governance Fellowship I was referring to, and it was organized by the African Economic Research Consortium in partnership with the World Bank. And we were trained on the use of the LSMS using Stata by Ida Moylan, and we had a 4-week training on Stata and a 5-week residency program, and it has gone to improve our capacity. And as we speak, some of us that are in the fellowship now use the data sets to provide evidence-informed policy. I was at the African Evidence Summit July this year, and I discovered that we have a lot of data, but we are not using it as we ought to. So I think the narrative should change. And how can we change the narrative? We have produced. The World Bank, the MBS are the producers. You have produced the data. It's high time we empower the processors. It's high time we empower the processors. Who are the processors? The academic and policy researchers. When we empower them to use it, then we have the output we need. When we get the output, then we get to where we are going. To conclude, the GHS panel, as of course, being a transformative tool for the Nigeria research and policy. Addressing training and awareness gaps will go a long way in maximizing the utility of this all-important tool that we have. The call to action is that there is need to support and promote initiatives for capacity building and awareness. And there's need to also leverage on this panel for impactful research and policy making. So, my key recommendations. It's high time we focus on the users of this data set as well by training them. Then there is need for institutional collaboration. Just like ARC has done, we can have boot camps, internships, fellowships to bring academic researchers on board to use these resources to shape policy in Nigeria. Also, there is need for awareness campaign. It's very bad to have something useful and you are not aware of it. Most of the postgraduate students go to the field to collect this same data in a crude way because they are not aware it existed. And there is need for a support system. Thank you very much for listening.
If I had the power, I would have asked for a standing ovation for you, for so many reasons. It's not just the lecture we get, and I think the World Bank team cannot define the SG better than the gods of all knowledge. Because to fish out people who can make presentation like this from 230 million Nigerians is not easy. If you had asked me, if at this age you look, you are already a PhD holder. By the time you are 40, 45, I don't know where you will be. Please, let's put our hands together for her once again. You see, some people are grumbling. Thank you very much. Well, if you are 60 and you look 40, that is good. But if you are 40 and you are already looking 60, you know something is wrong. so thank you very much. Honestly, time is not on our side, as we have said. If you look at the program, this is all supposed to have ended by 2:10, and of course, it's already far, far beyond that. So whatever we didn't do today, we'll do another day. World Bank, take note that we didn't finish the program. So what we need to conclude, please, we are willing and ready to have this. You could see if we had more time for this presentation, and if we had time to invite more academicians, maybe students who will be aware of this. And if the press, this is where now the AG was making emphasis, if we have a way that where the media publicizes this and students are aware that we have such data, and then we begin to even know those we need to train to also know how to use the data, because you say one important thing. It's one thing that you are aware that there is data. It's another thing that you know how to even use and apply the data and so on. Unless you put the two together, or even more than that, then you find out all this effort you have been making and making sleepless nights may not yield the desired result. Before we say the vote of thanks, I accept if the AG has a comment, otherwise we'll take the vote of thanks, because we'll not say the vote of thanks if the AG say have, because if not for anything, for staying from the beginning to the end. That has been the encouragement. That has been what has made the institutional difference in NBS than any other thing. I don't want to disclose what time AG comes to the office and what time he closes. But when you come, you will know yourself. That is evident, self-evident, that you know what I'm saying. So it's no wonder, it's not new to him that he can stay from the beginning of a program to the end. So I don't know whether the SG will still want to make a comment. Otherwise, we'll take the... What do you want to... Thank you. Please, let's put our hands together for the Station General.
Thank you very much, everybody. It has been a very productive day since morning. My comment will just be that I'm excited and looking forward to the resilient future, which is continuation of this survey. When Talib was presenting, something came to my mind about the next phase of this survey, resilient future. And I remember when I was at the university. You know, we have conducted these surveys for 15 years. And I relate it to the life of a human being when it comes to education. After 15 years, once you are getting to the age of 16, you are expected to enter university. When you are in primary school, your parents are likely to be monitoring you, following up with you, whether you do your assignment, whether you take care of your uniform and all that. Up to your secondary school, they can continue to monitor you. But when you enter university, most of the time, those follow-up are no more there. So 15 years, we have nurtured, we have followed up with the GHS-Panel. Now the GHS-Panel is entering university. When we were in year 1 at OAU, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ilefe, some of us that have gone through the wave 1 to wave 5 of GHS-Panel in our life, different shocks, different events that have happened that we have resilient to resist and to manage and to adapt. So when we entered university at year 1, then there was strike in the university and there was pandemonium. Everybody was running up and down. They gave us 24 hours to leave the campus, to pack our load, to pack our books and all that. It wasn't difficult for some of us that come from background of GHS, wave 1 to wave 5. Immediately we have already packed our bags and baggages, ready to move. And there's this guy that is a Gebota. That is those that their parents follow them from primary to secondary. Now they are not in the university to stay with them. And this guy started crying. While all of us are moving, packing and moving, he was just crying, couldn't do anything. He was not packing, he was just crying. And then people were asking, why are you crying? Pack your things. He said, no. If it is before, his parents would have been in the campus to come and pack the thing for him. And we told him that, look, you are in the university now. You have to adapt resilient future. You cannot, nobody will take care of you. So we look forward to resilient future where we are going to have a survey that will look at new innovations, you know, where we are going to be combining phone call survey with in-person survey. And this will work together to provide more insight, analysis, and that will inform decision taking. That we are looking forward to see that from what Talib told us today. Also a survey that is coming up with new multifaceted, multi-dimension topics. Climate change, migration, food security, shocks, you know. There are constraints listed by doctor now that the survey doesn't contain mental health indicators. You will see it there because this is a resilient future survey. The resilient future survey is also a survey that will combine other sources of data, geospatial data, earth observation, soil types, different kind of sources will come to play and interact together. And you can imagine what kind of analysis, what kind of result, what kind of insight those will provide at granular level. We are talking about small area estimation. The Resilient Future Survey will provide us opportunity to be able to do that efficiently. Resilient Future, as we have also seen, we have a lot of research work. We just have 2 academicians presented to us. By the time we are launching the result of Resilient Future, we will see far more than 2 that will be screening them at that point to say this one is acceptable, this one is not acceptable. That's the kind of what we are going to be seeing based on the kind of research, because the World Bank and MBS will work together to encourage researchers and academicians to make use of this, the result from the resilient future. So we look forward to that. That's my comment. The resilient future, here we come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I deliberately, because I know when SG speaks, it's like the icing, and if we miss it, we miss a lot. I'm sure the World Bank team, Dr. Talib Vemishola, you now know that if you stop here, then it's half education, and half knowledge is very dangerous. So we need to continue. We must reach the end. And thank you, SG, for that insight. You know, the Ajibota, you know, everything has an advantage. Ours was Ajipako in secondary school. Your father does not even know where you are going to, talk less of following you. So you go on your own. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, let me invite the project coordinator and the head of household statistics, Elutade Ade, for the vote of thanks. Please, let's put our hands together.
It is a great honor for me to give this vote of thanks this afternoon. For those of us that have been part of panel or that have been attending the data launch, you will agree with me that this round is a unique one in many ways. Let me appreciate the Most High God for the initiative he has given to us and for enabling us to even see today to, come up with this launch. To him be the glory. Then the Statistician General of the Federation, he has been a father, a mentor. He has been the one that has been motivating us. Sir, we really appreciate you, especially with the panel team. I'm appreciating you on their behalf now. We thank you for how you have been, how you have taken us, how you have been encouraging us. Because to be honest with you, without him, this wouldn't have taken place today. And you can see the kind of his leadership. Since morning, he has been with us. And I want to tell you that it's even his presence that even made some of us to still be here. And that is, that's just the truth. So, sir, we really appreciate you. We know you have a tight schedule, but for you to have been here since morning to now, it shows that you are a father indeed. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you, sir. Then the World Bank team, let me assure you that you have actually built a team. And I give you the thanks because when we started with one, we knew how we started. A lot of front and back, which I cannot be saying here. Even wave 2, wave 3, wave 4. But this round of wave, from the planning stage, right from when we started updating the questionnaire, the training, data collection, quality control measures, data cleaning, tabulation plan, analysis, you allowed everything to be handled by panel team in MBS. And we really appreciate you. And we really appreciate it. So you have really built a team because I know this was done with just little assistance from your side. So thank you so much. And we are looking like Oliver Twist. So but we are still asking for more support from your side. Then the stakeholders that are here today, thank you so much. We really appreciate your presence, especially the academians and those prof and doctors for your presentation. In fact, when I saw it, I was more encouraged that, so we have some people there that are actually using this data. Because this is the first time we are having this in data launch. So this afternoon really encouraged me more that, oh, we have not been wasting our time. Because at times when we produce data like this, I will sit down and look at it that, are people actually using this data? I do think of it. But with what I have seen and with what they have said, it means they have been following up. And you have really encouraged us to do more. So thank you so much for those wonderful presentations. Then the MBS Directorate, most of us are here till now. Thank you so much. Despite our tight schedule, at least you honored us by staying till this time. So we really appreciate you. And the panel team, my people, I really appreciate every one of you. You have wonderfully performed well. And I must say that as the project coordinator, I'm proud of the team. Thank you so much. Then everyone, the media and other people that are here, the zonal controllers from the 6 zones, thank you so much for coming down to Abuja to witness this Wave 5 data launch. I really appreciate every one of us, and I wish us safe trip back to the state SG, our partners in progress. Thank you so much for coming. And every other person that I might not remember to mention, I appreciate every one of you. And I wish every one of us safe trip back to our destination. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Before we take the announcement and the national anthem, let me do what I used to do. Let me also thank my team here and myself, since we are not being remembered for what we did well or we didn't do well. Forgive us. We are the only one that can apologize because we may not do well. As a reminder, if you see your ticket, it has where you are supposed to take your meal, either at the Booker or at the Oriental. If you go just because you have a ticket to a place other than where you are assigned, they may turn you back. So please check your ticket to know where you are taking your meal. Secondly, a reminder so that you don't have to go to the gate and come back. Use your program to scan your ticket if you drove yourself so that you don't have to go and pay money. Ladies and gentlemen, it's at the reception or not our secretariat. Please, you do that at the reception downstairs. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, my name is Nuhuane II. Thank you very much for your cooperation. May we rise up for the national anthem. Shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign in peace for battle honor and this we count as gain to hand into our children Havana we love them. O God of all creation, grant this our humble request. Help us to be a nation where no man is oppressed, and so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may live well. Thank you, Joey. You were more of a choir mistress this time around. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please, may we enjoy our day.